Way less brain farting. They can't be dipping two guys into each corner and allowing them to expose the middle of the ice.
I definitely did not use the term brain fart. That's not a chance.
But I do want to touch on special teams. VK, he needs to come up.
What's going on, everybody? John on here with you. Cooper Hopkins and company are going to be joining me probably pretty shortly here. On this side, let's get into it for Bruce Cassidy's squad. They're up 2-0 in this series. The starting lineup sound like this: Jack Eichel, Ivan Barbashev, Jonathan Marchessault, Alec Martinez, and Alex Pietrangelo, William Karlsson, Riley Smith, Michael Amadio, Braden McNabb, and Shea Theodore. Chandler, Stephenson, Brett Otten, Mark Stone, Nick Wall, William Kyrie, and Keegan Colstar, with Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud in the back end defense with Aiden Hill in net. And boy, has he been spectacular. And for the Florida Panthers, they're at FLA Live Arena. They are in Sunrise, but it feels like the sun is about to set on their season. They've got to make a stand tonight. Head coach by Paul Maurice, it sounds like this: Alexander Barkov, Carter Verhaeghe, Anthony Duclair, Gustav Forsling, and Aaron Ekblad, Sam Bennett, Nick Cousins, Matthew Tkachuk with Mark Staal and Brandon Montour, and Tom Lundell, Ryan Lundberg, and Sam Reinhart, Eric Staal, Colin White, and Casey Fitzgerald. Josh Mahura and Racco Gudis will be the back-end defense. Big Bob will be back in net for the Florida Panthers. I'm going to go ahead and refresh these lineups on the CBS side just in case anything else will change. But we should be good to go with Racco Gudis, although admittedly, just like it was in the Game 2 side, he is playing hurt on this side again. Who isn't at this time of year? But still, you have to keep that in mind. He is able to skate, he can go, but who knows for how long. So into this pregame, let's just get into the quick series recap. So Vegas won 5-2 in the first game. The score in the game was tight in the first 40 minutes. As Florida got a short-handed goal from Eric Staal and Duclair right off the draw. They got a pair of goals for the Panthers, but Marchessault in front of the net off of Stephenson, terrific pass. Theodore danced the blue line, and getting a tie game there. In the third period, it was all Vegas. They scored 3 unanswered goals. Whitecloud off the Duclair shot block, stormed off the field, Tkachuk clear, batted down with the toe of the stick, got a nasty wrist shot, and finished it off, and Riley Smith scored on the open net. Hill was amazing with an against-the-grade paddle save as he stopped 32 shots. Bobrovsky stacked the pads and did a split to save, but he took the loss, stopping 29. In Game 2, it was anything but pretty on that side as Vegas won 7-2. So if you're keeping that among between 5 and 7, that's a total of 12 goals within the first 2 games. That is an NHL record in the Stanley Cup Finals, and also for Vegas, an NHL record in the Cup Finals. 9 different players have scored the 12 total goals. The only silver lining for the Florida Panthers in Game 2 was that they stopped a 7-0 goal run in the series against the Golden Knights. There were numerous breakdowns all over the ice. Even when Florida had 2 or 3 defenders against one, the one would always find a way for Vegas. Vegas off 1-4 would not only create space, but they would score. Florida was even caught on a line change and had only 4 players on one of the Vegas goals. Bobrovsky was pulled. He gave up 4 goals on 13 shots. Alex Lyon saw his first action since round 1 and made 12 saves on 15 shots. Misconducts from Matthew Tkachuk and Ivan Barbashev. Tkachuk absolutely blew up Eichel, but it was heroic in the third period that he came out there and set up a primary assist on that side from what we're just seeing on the TNT part of the coverage in this pregame. He returned heroically, assisted on Marchessault's second goal. Gudis was already injured. He didn't return after being flatlined by Barbashev. It was a steamroller type hit. Tkachuk slammed in the net of Hill in the first period and took some punches from the goaltender. Stone with one of the best shifts in the playoffs. He blocked the shot. He broke his stick. He forced a hit on Montour. He got his stick from the bench, and he sent the pass to Howden to punish Bobrovsky with a sweep-moving goal and rearrange his jockstrap. So for Vegas, it was Marchessault and Howden with a pair of goals. Martinez, Nick Wall, and Amadio also scored. Hill stopped 29 of 31 as he continues to be a primary story in this series. Lundell and Tkachuk also scored a goal. So some of these pregame early notes will get out of the way. And again, I'll repeat some of this for Cooper Hopkins when he does join in. But Stanley Cup Finals records for Vegas in 2 games. 12 different goals scored in 2 games. 9 different players have scored them. Marchessault has 12 goals in his last 12 games. And here we might see a renewed energy from Brandon Montour, the defenseman. He's got no points in the last 10 games for the Panthers, but he had traveled back from Vegas in games 1 and 2 back to Florida, waiting on the birth of his son, Kai. I think he breaks out. Kai was born. I saw the pictures, and they gave that a like on that side. He was already getting a ton of chances in this series. I think he does pretty well. We're going to leave some of these other notes on that side for Cooper when they go into, but those are some of the goal side of it. So here it is for me. As far as the pregame and every other types of notes here, we know where Florida is in this series. They're down 2-0. This has got to be a win right now for the Panthers. If they don't win this game, I think we could easily see this series end by the end of the week. I know it's going to sound hyperbolic, but you got to hear me out on this. And between offense, defense, and goaltending, and even depth, Vegas has outplayed Florida the entire way through. And this is before we even count all of the defensive miscues, before we count some of the other mistakes, before we count all the other penalty minutes against and some of the sloppy play. Vegas has been the better team, bar none. If you cannot find a rally right now and key into what worked for you between the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the 4 one-goal victories in the sweep against the Carolina Hurricanes, then when are you going to find an answer? Again, for any Vegas fans on that side, again, it's no different as far as what we've seen from them. This is the same old song and dance. They've been dominant throughout this entire playoff run, and Florida is just another stepping stool to get in their way. They're 2 wins away from this. But Florida, in my opinion, have got to treat this game like a Game 7. Because if they don't win this one, I think this series is going to be done on Saturday. And again, as we talked about, I can't cover the game on Saturday because they got to go to a wedding. So I will be really sad on that, and if I don't get a Stanley Cup call. But it's pretty simple. If you're Florida and you're Paul Maurice, look, you can't take the physicality away from your team, but you can certainly tell Matthew Tkachuk he's got to stay on the ice. Because if he doesn't stay on the ice and he spends more time in the penalty box, well, then there you go. This series is going to be done. You also got to tell some of the other teams that you can't continue to make these defensive mistakes with these personnel. You have to have the correct numbers of players on the ice when a goal is scored against you. You can't just seek out the hit. You got to play more stick check, more oriented defense. You got to be able to find some offense. And quite honestly, with some of these goals against Bobrovsky, yeah, we know he hasn't been sharp, but a lot of the situation has been there's been nothing in front of him. What's he supposed to do? So Florida can clean up some of their miscues. They can give themselves a chance, but that's all that can be done right now. As we talked about, in between offense, defense, goaltending, special teams, depth, Vegas has won every check mark. Florida has not played a single game in this series in which I actually believe that they can come back. But it's got to start tonight. If it doesn't start tonight, I don't see any way they get a win on Saturday. Again, that's just me. We'll get into some of the open as far as some of the other stats when Cooper does join in. Alec, again, I appreciate you. Cooper did just join in on this side, so we will get him in. I'm going to go ahead and leave some of those other stats. As I said, wait till he goes in and starts getting all situated, because I just gave you the depth of it. If Florida doesn't clean up everything else in front of them, it's done. You got to stay out of the penalty box. You got to continue to get more chances, and you just got to play better hockey. You can't go over there for the hit. You can't try to just intimidate everybody, because Vegas is the one team that can't be intimidated. They only have one player that's less than 6 feet in Jonathan Marchessault. So for game 1, if it tells you for Nick Hague, when he's laughing in the face, when he's getting punched, I think that's got to tell you something that Vegas is just playing right in their heads.
John, good to hear your voice as usual, my friend. And we got Sean and Alec here as well. I know you just gave those boys a shout-out. So, gentlemen, welcome along for the ride. And if it continues as it has for Florida, it will continue to be a bumpy ride, John. I think that's what you were just alluding to with some of your comments. We've had the great fortune now of working all 3 of these Stanley Cup games together. Florida Panthers, great fortune has not come their way, but they're going to have to make it for themselves tonight, John. They're at home. I think it goes without saying. I'm sure the boys along with us here on the broadcast agree. This is as close to, if not right in the bullseye, of a must-win as you can get if you're the Panthers.
I've already declared it as such, so I will agree with all of you on that side. Some other stats that I did not list that I was waiting for you to come into, and this side of it, penalty minutes climbing. So some of these tweets are from James Myrtle, and thank you to Steve Dangle from the Cup Check videos to throw it out of Sportsnet. The record for the most penalty minutes in a Cup final is 508. That was set by the Montreal Canadiens and the Calgary Flames in the 1986 series. Within 2 games, the Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers are already over 200 penalty minutes. Matthew Tkachuk has 36 of his own through 2 games. That's the 9th most already. And the record is 53. And if it continues this way, he's going to shatter it.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's probably not a great thing. As much as I love a Flames reference, I mean, all you guys know that by this point. But as much as I love that reference, if you're going back looking at the mid-'80s, that, John, as we said, I think in the last broadcast where we were together, that is a different era of hockey where, sure, there's goal scoring, but it's just a different world with, enforcers, a lot more fighting, and just a different mentality. So Florida has to shift that mentality. It's great to take the body, but they're doing so basically in retaliation after they're already out of the contest.
Yeah.
And ironically, right now in the TNT feed, I see Ryan Lomberg, another former Flame. Again, I know we mentioned that multiple times, but he's someone who has been very visible in this series, and that's great for him individually. He's a legitimate NHLer. But when he's one of the most visible players on your team, that says something's going wrong for me. We're going to need more from the big boys, from the Panthers, John. And I'm not going to say that it has to be the Reinhardts and the Tkachuks of the world, but the big boys for Vegas are doing the job. It's the Stones, it's the Marchessault, it's the Martinezes, right? That has to be the case tonight for Florida, or things are really, no pun intended, going to go south quickly.
One of the situations, too, when you just talk about the big boys, it's offense, defense, goaltending, special teams, depth. Everybody's doing the job for Vegas. I need somebody to step up for Florida. Where's Alexander Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe?
Yeah, no question about it. We could literally just go name by name down the lineup and highlight those who need to do a better job of just bringing their A game. I think if the Panthers can even get to a B game here, they might give themselves a better chance. Now, Vegas, we have no reason to believe that they're not going to be on their A game. It's been an A-plus game if we're going to go with the grading analogy here. But yeah, it is absolutely time. It's been time. And, John, since we noted some of the faces in Vegas that were there to help rile the crowd up, we had Dan Marino, who was pounding on the drum, and now Army veteran Sergeant Deborah Stern, obviously a big military community there in Florida. So it's good that TNT is recognizing these folks, and hopefully the crowd can get behind the team as quickly as possible. That's basically my point here on this little speech. But it's an exciting night here. They have the flyover there at FLA Live Arena, John. I'm getting ramped up for this one. It's time for Florida to put up or shut up.
I'm going to say a bit of good news on that side because I saw it breaking before we got everything else all set up. So Brandon Montour has been a very busy human being on that side. He had to fly back over from Florida on that end because he was waiting for his birth of his son, Kai. Nice pictures from the Florida Panthers account. I think he's going to be motivated, especially hopefully getting some sleep. He hasn't scored any points in the last 10 games, but I'm going to expect a big one from Brandon Montour. He's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a great point from you. Hopefully there is that extra energy, and he's got what they call these days dad strength. Maybe he can help find a little extra. But in terms of defenders for the Panthers, also something you probably mentioned as you opened your remarks there, John, is that a little bit surprisingly, I would say, Radko Gudas is available tonight. He is in the lineup. He will be on the ice.
So Radko Gudas, to me, and again, this is metaphorically, he must have all sorts of bandages on his wounds because he got pasted by Barbashev. I know we're talking about the Tkachuk and Eichel hits, but make no mistake about it, the Barbashev one was a steamroller.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I will recall that for some time. That's there right by the penalty boxes there in Vegas from our last game on the near boards. And yeah, Gudas was dropped after that hit. He had to head back to the bench, and he did not come back for another shift in that game. So we'll have to keep an eye out just on his health. Is he able to sustain hits? He's a physical player. He's going to be involved in some scrums, you'd have to think, and hopefully he can keep himself together physically and stay in there because the Panthers need him.
So I know we're going through the national anthem and all that, but selfishly, I'm going to call out Time to Hunt the Florida Panthers on this side. I need a win because I'm not going to be able to broadcast Saturday's game. I've made that well known. Maybe you and Alec on that side, if you want to get to it, can maybe broadcast a cup winner. I'd like to see it get delayed tonight. Play your best game, boys. We need to get to a game 5.
Yeah, you know what? I think just as a hockey fan, Alec and Sean, I'm sure you guys agree as well. We want to see, it doesn't have to be 7, but we want to see a competitive Stanley Cup final. And for the first couple of periods of Game 1, we thought we were going to get that. Vegas takes strides away from the Panthers at the end of that first game, and then the second game we don't need to review. It was all Vegas all the way, essentially, other than a couple of goals for the Panthers. But lucky number 7, very fitting if you're a team from Sin City. gambling capital of the universe. I don't believe that Vegas will have a goal total that astronomical tonight, John, but still look for them to get their tallies, don't you think? I wouldn't be surprised if they put up 3, maybe 4. So Florida's going to have to score in order to win this game.
Wasn't there a stat out there that said if Vegas scores at least 3, they're 25-0 in their previous side, and they haven't lost a game since like 2020 when they've scored 3 or more?
That is correct. So actually you make a great point, even as the words escape my mouth. If that is the case, yeah, statistically, basically they're flawless. So Florida, let's say the magic number for them is 2. That's what they have to limit their opponent to tonight, or else, yeah, John, it looks like I'll have to team up with Alec, and I'd be more than happy to do so. But just for you, my friend, I wouldn't want you to miss what could be a clincher.
Well, if it does happen, make sure you guys keep me updated or shoot me a text, because I may be listening on the car on the way out, depending on how long everything goes. I'll let you guys know. But we're in the first period puck drop, and Nick Waugh will set to get this go. VGK are in the road whites with the black pants and the gold and red piping. As the backhand goes off the outside of the cage, you kind of wonder how Sergei Bobrovsky's feeling with it. I know I've always emphasized the calmness, but the pressure is right now as Montour lets a huge slapper go, and that one's saved by Aiden Hill. As Florida will spin this back around with Anton Lundell, but he's being triple teamed by a bunch of Golden Knights, and now Nick Waugh, man, did he make an excellent skate through in that second period when he pretty much played 1-on-4, got into the tight circle and finished it off and close. As this is Stone, this is Chip that had the fans want a tripping penalty. Don't think they're going to get one. As Gustav Forsling will try to get this out of their own end. Again, the Panthers are in the home reds with the blue pants, as this is just kept in by Barkov, and then the pass is picked off of the chip pass. And now this will be a race for it, as this is heavily contested. Bernard and Ekblad strong enough that will keep a hand on one stick as Barkov will get this. And now Forsling gain the entry across the Panthers logo. Here's a long wrister. This one goes wide off the kick plate. Carter Hagee's got it now near the right side of the red line. Sam Bennett trying to give chase, able to partially force a steal, but the captaincy and Mark Stone sends it back around, but a little bit miscommunication allows Bennett to get to it, but the backhand's too far for Tkachuk. And now it can settle it back down as Vegas. And with McNabb now to the left side of the wall, the pass goes all the way down the ice, but it hits the goal stick of Bobrovsky, and here's Nick Cousins. Radko Gudas, I can't believe he's still out there, but as Cooper and I talked about, he is definitely playing injured. Here's a pass that's flubbed and toward the right side of the blue line, but who isn't nowadays? As this is spun around away from Nick Cousins, Whitecloud lost it, and Florida can pick this back up to the neutral zone, and that was almost dangerous for a 2-on-1, but somehow picked up by the Panthers at the last second as Eichel has it now. Off the backhand, this feels like the best opening stretch of play, and as I say that, we get a stoppage.
You know, John, you read my mind. That was going to be my first comment, and so what the heck, I will make it my first comment. We actually got a nice stretch of unbroken play there, which is a little something different than we experienced in the prior 2 games here in the Stanley Cup Final. And Florida, of course, just has technically that one shot so far. It was a rising slap shot from the blue line at 94 miles per hour. So some impressive heat on that technical first shot on goal as we see some replays of the barbershop hit on Gudas here. Man, oh man, that was, boy, now I'm looking at it again, almost as violent
Yes.
as Matthew Tkachuk in. So I'll let you get back into it as play-by-play resumes.
So the face-off, they had to do this a couple of times. It was contested through a tie-up, and now it's sent into the Florida zone, where it's recollected off the backhand for Josh Mahura. Again, he's probably still feeling some hits from Game 1, as this is picked up near the right side. Vegas has it. And now I'm seeing a little bit of physical play again and getting some out-of-position plays here for Florida, as nice move for Vegas and toward the right side dot again. That's something that we've keyed in toward the Game 2 and now Game 3. You just can't afford to do that for Florida. The other thing you can't afford to do is ice it.
Yeah, John, you're right. You know what? I'm not just saying this because they're wearing their home reds tonight, as you pointed out. Florida looks a little different to me here. I know there's not a big sample size. We're talking about just a couple of minutes here. I do like what I've seen out of their first 3 or 4 shifts or so. A little bit more fluidity. Seems to be a little bit more focus on team play, better positioning on the ice. So I'm going to keep an eye on that as we go forward.
Eichel wins this one clean. The shot gets blocked, but it's going to go right back to the defense. And Shea Theodore able to keep it in as Marchessault gets dispossessed. Again, Marchessault has got 12 goals in the last 12 games. He is now in Conn Smythe consideration for sure. If Vegas does win the Stanley Cup final, I would expect him to get the trophy, but Aiden Hill still has some props on Lyon, as we've talked about. So Florida get the extended Tampa Bay in behind the net right now. Again, they're showing 10 goals in the last 9 games for Marchessault, so it's good on TNT as this one's iced again.
Yeah, so nothing yet, John. It's pretty obvious, but no major action for either netminder. And you brought it up, but just in passing, we'll see what Bobrovsky's mindset looks to be as this game continues. Hopefully he is as sharp as he has been throughout the playoffs, but of course when he gets tested, we will see the results.
Yeah, and Vegas is shown, as far as every other team right now in the run to this Cup Finals, that they've been the biggest test so far, and that is no disrespect to Boston. Vegas has just played on another level. Stick check, and they can't get it out. It's Florida. As here's a wide open Zach Whitecloud. He can tee it up, lets it go. And this one is shot wide. I'm surprised he didn't shoot that a little quicker. And now it's a late arriving 3-on-3. And this is good back-end defense for Vegas. What else is new on that side? As Nick Waugh will get this off the backhand, but he just skates a little bit too far ahead. This is thankfully going to give Panthers fans some puck possession now for Eric Staal as they mix it a little bit with Tkachuk. And Tkachuk now toward the right side, he loses it as this is sent back around the inboards. Florida does keep it in. They go for a tip. This one is spun wide. As Tkachuk will get this. Now for Montour, scores! Florida's on the board early!
This is massive stuff, John. Needless to say, a huge shift for the Florida Panthers. I will say there was an inkling that they looked a little different tonight, and Vegas had a couple of pushes on their last couple of shifts. They had Whitecloud open, like you said, had a chance with a shooting lane, but didn't decide to step into the space. Well, guess what? Brandon Montour, more than happy, accepts the invitation, fires a wrister home. It's 1-0 Panthers.
There's the new dad. What a heck of a wrist shot that was.
Absolutely. Boy, didn't you call it before the game started tonight? You called Brandon Montour, and I came in with the dad strength. And you know what? That was a little bit of an extra touch from the father right there. Montour sends it through traffic. Great screen in front as well. Cousins involved. Looks like Staal involved. And I don't see a deflection, John. That is top cheese from number 62.
That's an absolutely beautiful goal all the way around. Perfectly executed by the Panthers. But now you got to make sure you don't leave yourself privy to the counterattack. As this is picked up now for the Panthers and Mahura as he sends this around the inboards. Again, these crowd is definitely going to be into it. It's the first time they get a chance to see the Panthers at FLA Live Arena. And now this is toward the right side of the boards as Barbashev. This just gets knocked away from him. Again, I know Florida is not thinking about it, but in the back of all of our minds right now, as far as the franchise history, Florida's 0 for 6 in the Cup final. You want to erase that as much as possible. There's Reinhardt now, as he's able to keep this alive off the forehand, but he needs some reinforcements. It's still with Florida. Right in front of this one goes off the top of the crossbar for Duclair. As it's spun around now for Hagee trying to locate it. Again, I kind of feel like my voice is giving away who I'd rather see this win, but honestly, I just want the series extended, as I've been talking about. As this is sent around now to the right side dot and recollected by Marchessault. And Vegas was able to flip this one down. Try to find Barbashev, but this goes a little bit too close in the Panthers logo, but collected toward the red line. Nice eluding of a hit there from one of the Vegas Golden Knights as this is spun around the right side of the face-off dot. Florida gets this through. They do have some late arriving reinforcements. Here's a sauce pass that goes dangerously through the left side of the crease, and now Vegas with a stick broken. One of the other players will go back and pick it up. Again, there was a really good sequence on that side. We talk about Mark Stone's goal. Vegas also did a great job of showing, oh, what a hit on the other end for Tkachuk. But I was saying, giving the stick and scoring the goal for Stone, and now hit in the face is one of the Panthers, and it's a high sticking call.
Wow, John, this is really ramping up now. The Florida Panthers look like a team possessed, and Matthew Tkachuk feeling the retaliation right there. He was toppled over with a blast to his collarbone area. That is a clean hit, but then moments later, a clear high stick And boy, Tkachuk helped back to the bench by Lomberg. I don't think that number 19 is injured. He doesn't seem dazed, but he definitely took a huge pop right there. And Kolasar delivered the hit.
So I know this. Tkachuk did come back after a prior benching in Game 2. He did score one of the goals for Florida on that side, but Montour's already got one again. It's first point in 10 games. So Tkachuk already has an assist, and Vegas takes the first penalty where Florida doesn't have anything against them at 14:04. Look, I know it's early, but you got to play the privy to the game of let's just see if Florida can play their best game. And right now, through the 6 minutes, they're not making any mistakes.
Yeah, it seems like a team that wiped the slate clean. I think they said we're going to leave our play that we put on the ice in Vegas back in Vegas. They left it there, didn't take it on the plane with them back across the country. It seems, at least right now, like the team that we have gotten accustomed to seeing over the course of these playoffs. And that bodes really, really well. You pointed out that, of course, it's the first time the home fans are seeing these Panthers in the Stanley Cup final at FLA Live Arena. Of course, the first time in literal decades, essentially a generation for Panthers fans to have a chance to win the Cup. And boy, it certainly looks like the Florida Panthers were reminded by themselves, their coaches, or who knows. But they were reminded, yeah, you're playing for the Stanley Cup, and you better act like it. They're definitely acting like it.
Yep, and Bobrovsky has only had to make one save so far through about 6 minutes on that side. Aiden Hill stopped 2 of 3. Again, that's just maybe window dressing to some, but they're not having to keep Bob busy in his own end right now. That's going to bode well. Again, they're showing Tkachuk. He got absolutely smoked on that, and he was slow to get up, and Bennett was the one that took the stick to the mouth.
Yeah, great point by you there. And yeah, of course, on the TNT side, that Kolasar hit, boy, he gets a little glance up from the ice. As Tkachuk covered in snow there. He's got to pull himself up on his skates and stumbled a little bit as he tried to regain balance. But he's out there, John. So we'll see if this first power play unit for Florida can get the job done and double their lead.
So Carrier is the one that goes to the box. We're going to do this face-off again. We're going to essentially reset it at the 2-minute power play. 13:59 left to go in the first. John under with you alongside Cooper Hopkins. We're at FLA Live Arena for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and we're just trying to see if there's going to be a different narrative tonight. I got the intermission stuff fully loaded for the first and second, so we'll have plenty of topics. Hopefully Cooper can stick around with all those sides. But again, I just appreciate all of you guys being here on that side, just to be able to join in. Because the NBA Finals has been pretty intriguing, but right now for the Cup Finals, as enjoyable as it's been in spurts, we need to find some intrigue. As Tkachuk's got it near the right side dot, he will crisscross and now work his way for a screen right in front of Pietrangelo. As this is slowly moved around the horn now. Bennett with the drop pass. Montour going to let it fly. He's already scored one. I got to imagine he's going to be feeling the self-confidence. Again, I think he's one of the better defenders that we got in the league anyway. When you play 60 minutes of a 4 overtime game on that side, you definitely have the skating speed and durability to do so. As Montour off the drop. Staal, good movement off in front, but a late arriving stick check by Braden McNabb might have saved the goal there. As Vegas tries to get this out, but Florida is right on it with Sam Bennett. As he'll put this around the net now. And this will be recollected by Barkov. This will be centered out in front, and now Vegas will get an opportunity to just flip it down the ice with Nick Watt. 45 seconds thereabouts left to go in Florida's first power play of the game. It's the only one so far. Shots on goal are 3-1 for Florida. Montour's got the goal from a Tkachuk assist. As Aiden Hill will slam this around the kick plate. Florida tries to keep it in, and now at least they get a couple stick blades on it to make sure it doesn't go the other way. Florida now trying to find Verhaeghe off a crisscross, and a late arriving Aaron Ekblad able to keep this in the zone as this is flipped into the bench. 19 seconds left to go on the power play.
Yeah, John, so, obviously very short time here remaining in this first man advantage of the game. The Panthers look solid, though, and you noted that there was a bang-bang play that if a stick check had not been intervening, then there could have been potentially a second goal for Florida. And it's Tkachuk, who was at the fulcrum of that play. And he's so good in the trapezoid area, they almost converted.
And Tom Lundell will try to win this one off the tie-up, but a good contest there by Vegas. This will go back to Zach Whitecloud. They'll just slam this thing around the inboards, and they'll go back to Bobrovsky. We'll leave it here for Gustav Forsling. There'll be one more time to go right to left, but Florida's essentially going to run out of time as soon as they get in the offensive zone. But here's Verhaeghe flying off the forehand. He puts a centering pass out in front. Duclair is fast, but again, he was stuck on his own end as this is picked up now. And Florida just brushes this away as Vegas will clear it in. They might get a chance to throw a pass up for Stone, and this will get picked off by the jerseys in red. Florida's got it now. Gain the entry off the backhand and looking to fire. So again, I'm seeing Florida able to take their chances and trying to pressure Hill as much as they can. And a good stick stop by Hill. That was a backhanded opportunity. As Vegas now will try to get this the other way, but it's intercepted. And Florida's got it with Brandon Montour. Boys, he looked good early as this is picked up off the backhand. This is centered out between the netting and on a play. 11-17 left to go in the first.
Yeah, John, you may have seen this. I believe we're both on the TNT feed, but there was a quick shot. It was technically a replay, so I'm not sure how long ago it happened. But Matthew Tkachuk did go down the tunnel toward the room. I'm not sure if he was just getting some maintenance in the tunnel or if he went all the way to the dressing room, but something definitely to keep an eye on. Tkachuk may be off the bench right now.
It's got to be something involved in that hit. I know that goes without saying, but that was a big-time crunch even for somebody like Tkachuk.
Yeah, no question. And speaking of hits, Montour throwing a couple elbows as the crowd comes together during a line change there in between plays. So Montour getting involved offensively, and no surprise, not afraid to mix it up as well. So he is inspired tonight, to say the least.
Oh, that was a dangerous play for Florida that was put to the blue paint, and the Vegas late arriving stick probably saved a goal again. That's been a story throughout all of these playoffs for Vegas. They do a great job of making sure nobody gets in front of Hill's crease, and when they do, they can quickly brush it aside. Verhaeghe nicely able to stay on side, but this is intentionally wide. Barkov now. Again, I'm trying to see if I see number 19 on that side, as this is picked back up by Verhaeghe, but it's an opportunity for Reinhardt. Don't see Tkachuk normally on this line, as this is picked up now for Barkov. So we'll have to keep an eye on Matthew as we go forward throughout this game. Here's Vegas now. They'll gain the entry across the red line, and this is picked up now for Josh Mahura. He's got this off his forehand, and now he's going to peel back. 10-15 left to go in this first. It's a Brandon Montour goal. Florida's got the early lead, but again, Vegas, they can strike at any moment. Florida's got to play their best game of the series, and they've got to lock down Vegas as much as possible. Right now, as it stands, they only have one shot on goal, but how long is that going to last? As this is picked up off the backhand as we hit the halfway marker of the opening frame. And Tom Lundell will send it in deep as Lomberg will get chase. Vegas gets a chance to get this out, elude a huge hit in the process as Racco Gudis will take his time. And offsides as Vegas tries to throw a late hit the other way. The camera didn't cut, though, but we do have some meeting there with Dalty and Staal.
Yeah, John, it seems like at least for the time being, and again, you made a point about shots on goal. I'm going to extend that to just overall style of play in general. I'm going to say that Vegas seems to be playing a style of game that Florida occupied during the first two games. Not that there hasn't been any skill or offensive opportunities for Vegas, but Florida, with the overall team game right now, the more dangerous chances, they've gotten close a couple of times, and of course have the one goal from Montour, and then also nice feed, a replay on the TNT feed. Boy, oh boy, the only save made by Bobrovsky tonight was an absolute beauty as he flings out that blocker and barely, just at the last possible moment, blocks a shot outside the right post. So he has kept his team not only in the game, but in the lead.
And we will see how much that this continues. Again, as far as our intermission content, I'll do the preview of some trades that have gone on, and then some other news and notes as far as a couple signings and a big report that's coming out between the Winnipeg Jets and one of their primetime players. So that'll be in the first intermission.
Well, I believe I'm aware of a couple of those things, John, but I don't want to divulge which. We'll just keep the intrigue here at the utmost level, but I think you might have some information that I don't, so I'm actually excited to get into those things too.
And in the second intermission, again, after all those trades, it'll be a little bit more of a TV coverage comment. I'm going to have some words to throw out there because there was more talk about everything that's going on in Valley Sports. And if you're in that vicinity, as far as that marketplace, the news may or may not be good. So those will be a couple of our discussions. It'll keep us pretty busy, but I'm excited about the trades and trying to get some of your guys' thoughts. So as we're going to check back into this here, 9:44 left to go in the first, is Darren Pang is interviewing Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah, John, and the official tally there, of course, will be to the Montour is the goal scorer for Florida. Tkachuk with the primary assist, and also want to make mention the secondary assist going to Staal on that one. So Eric Staal, I should say. So excellent job by the Panthers to really take hold of this game early on. It's exactly what they had to do.
So a neutral zone face-off win, as this is dumped in by Forsling. Now Vegas will try to get this out, pick this up off the backhand. And a good little design play across the right side wall, but Vegas off the delayed offside. They're going to check back up. So Michael Amadio will be the lone forechecker here, as this is easily picked off by Vegas and through the defensive zone, and Carlson will step offside.
Yeah, John, so I want to think back to the goal really quickly, and, sometimes I pose these questions to you. I know we just have a short break here, but to me, that was definitely not on Hayden Hill. There was plenty of traffic in front. I'm not sure he had a clean look. Are you agreeing with that sentiment?
No, he didn't have a clean look at all. Not only was it a perfect screen, it was a beautifully lifted shot by Montour.
Yeah, great. Just wanted to, make sure that you felt the same way. So neither Hill nor Bobrovsky really fully in action yet. Of course, we've had shots on goal, but we'll see if they top their game tonight as we get into the later periods.
Sent back around the end boards now as one of the Golden Knights blows a tire, and this is picked up now. Lindell falls down to his knees, able to stay with it and chip it into the right side red line as Ryan Lundberg centered out in front of one of the stop by Hill. That's how you answer there. That could have been 2-0. As this is wrapped around the end boards now. Must have got a piece of that with a blocker. As this trying to get backhand out now. Florida tries to pick this back up. Alec Martinez will send this back around for Pietrangelo. Stone off a flipping pass. As Florida now, all of a sudden, their forecheck seems to be working early, but I don't want to speak other things into existence right now because I need an extension here. As Vegas will go to the players' bench, they'll take their changes, and Florida has got it now. Again, that was a monumental stop by Hill as Barkov gains the entry off the backhand. Nice little dipsy doodle has got near the right side of the red line. Working in behind the net, that's when Florida is at their best. It's for Hagee's short side chance. Goes off the wall. Anthony Duclair will be the first to get to it. As Montour will set up his defensive teammate. The slap shot gets blocked. Vegas. It's not clean right now, but they have enough defensive artillery to be able to get this out. Jack Eichel just watching right now as this is pinned as one of the Panthers easily knocked down right now. Eichel will pry it loose. Florida gets a stick on it, and Barbashev gets taken down. Is there going to be a call against Florida? That'd be an absolute disaster, but it looked like a tripping call.
Well, Judon, first of all, I want to see a replay here, and great call by you in real time. I have not seen the play redone here on TNT. I'm basically trying to say I think the puck may have gotten behind Hill and run the post. We'll take a look at it. Either that or he got the blocker on it. But yes, indeed, we're going to get a penalty here, and Vegas will now be on man advantage.
I think you're right. I think it just went out the left side bar for Lindell. That was very close, but Aiden Hill did a good job nonetheless, just being in the right spot.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, he had to get alert real quickly. Boy, fans were up out of their seats there as we see Lindell. Yes, that did ring the bar to Hill's left, but Hill did have the blocker in the right position, so credit to him. A couple of blocker plays on both sides, Bobrovsky and Aiden Hill, and there's a clear trip. So Staal in the box now for the Panthers. It's time for a 2-minute power play for Vegas.
So Mark Staal in the box. I know nothing is probably a must at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, I think Florida has to kill this penalty against Vegas. And Vegas, we talked about some of their propensities to not do so well in the power play. They've been really good in this series against Florida, and they've started to awake a little bit since they played Dallas, and that's been extended. As this is picked up now by Florida, and this was almost put in the middle of the slot. And thankfully for the Panthers, it bounced right back to their defense. That was a weird-looking puck bobble, but this is sent back down the ice here for Vegas, and now they will try to go left to right again in the road whites. It's Jack Eichel, and he will get this pass across as trying to form a wall on that blue line, and the Panthers will get this in across the red. Marchessault will fire it in as Bobrovsky will take a look at it. He's in the stand up here on the left side of the post, and Florida will just knuckle puck this thing down the ice. So relatively clean right now. Vegas still held at one shot on goal. It feels about 8 minutes since that point. As it's 6:30 left to go in the first round, I'm with you alongside Cooper Hopkins, but we'll definitely be switching off on that side. As it's Barbashev, but he couldn't find Pietrangelo. So Vegas will have to start again. Off the backhand, try to gain the entry. Florida is right there, and they will flip this one back down the ice. This is attention to detail on the defense that we just hadn't seen to the first two games, and I have to just call out the things as I see them here. What looks different? This is flipped in now by Vegas, but again, they can strike at any moment. It's Nick Waugh. Pietrangelo will send this one D to D. He'll get it back, the former St. Louis Blues captain. Into the traffic, that one goes wide up into the netting and out of play.
And John, so a very successful penalty kill here so far for the Panthers. They looked good, both sides of special teams. They did not, of course, score on the power play that they had, but very competent effort, and I would say that is the exact same description for this penalty kill. Well done.
Riley, oh my goodness, we just got the replay there. Riley Smith with the deflection and hit the top of the crossbar.
Wow, you're right, John. No, I apologize. A little bit of delay here on my side, as is customary for us. I think I'm about 10 or 12 seconds behind you, but that's great. You're always working in the future as I follow you up here, just trailing behind. Wow, what a close call. It's been a couple of close calls now on both sides, but we're still at 1-0, Florida with the early lead.
Eichel was given the space. He always likes to pass. He took the shot that time, and Bobrovsky closes out the 5-hole as Vegas gets their second shot of the period, 5:47 left.
Yeah, very interesting stuff here, John. It's worth mentioning is that Bobrovsky makes a pretty standard save there. Eichel shot it right into the crest on Bobrovsky's jersey. But, just about 5.5 to go here, a little over that, and only 6 shots total for both teams. So something to keep an eye on. You'd expect that to open up. But right now, shots are at a premium.
So advantage Florida clearly here if they can keep these shot totals low, because they really have to do so here, Cooper.
Oh, no question about it. You want to keep the shot totals low, keep Vegas to as few scoring chances as possible. We talked about in our open about what happens. You pointed it out. What happens when Vegas gets 3? Say goodnight to their opponent. So they got to keep them to 2 or below. They're doing a good job. Just 2 shots right now.
So the over-under for today's game, not really a gambling man on my side, as I always let you know about that, but the over-under is 6. So everybody else is kind of thinking we might get a lower scoring game than we've seen, because Vegas, as we go to break, they've got 12 goals in the first 2 games. That's a franchise record in the Cup final, and 9 different players have scored 12 goals is also a franchise record in a Cup final. Not just for Vegas, but for the Stanley Cup finals in general. Those are both records.
Yeah, it just speaks to the absolutely elite level that Vegas is playing at right now. It's really exceptional stuff. And to Florida's credit, they have found a way to dampen that level of play. They've done a great job so far in this first period. And though, John, we've seen it happen before, many regular season games, different teams, doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you've got to keep momentum going into the room, right? I think that if Florida were to give up one late here, I would start to feel like things are about to unravel.
Yeah.
So they've got to keep that lead before they head to the break.
Absolutely. Everything's paramount right now. I know Cooper said it's not technically a must-win, but I think we're all on the same page. Everyone that's listening to this Twitter space, I appreciate you, Alec, Ian, Sean, on that side. I think we're all in agreement here. If Florida doesn't win this one, I have a hard time believing that we're going to extend this series to the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. We keep coming back to this theme where selfishly we want you to be on the call. I want you to be on the call, and we all want to see something that's really compelling and really is resting on a knife edge. And so far it hasn't been. It's just been Vegas wielding the knife and slashing through the Panthers at will. But it's different tonight, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, one of the situations, too, when we talk about last year, Cooper and I referenced this in the grid. They're showing Brandon Montour on that side, so that's very cool to see, as we talked about. But it was different last year from a 2-0. Again, Colorado stopped Tampa last year in a 7-0, but then Tampa came on vigilantly, made sure they got at least 2 games in the series to make it something. Florida's got to get to the point right now where they can show us that. Lomberg will send this out in front. This is just kept in the blue line side by Gustav Forsling. As Ryan will go ahead and try to collect this one again. Alec Martinez off the back pass as Vegas has this in their own end. Again, the Florida forecheck, it's not about hits right now. It's about stick checks, and I'm seeing that. I'm seeing them make the adjustment. 10 points this postseason, franchise record for points by a defenseman. Brandon Montour's already got the only goal of the game, assisted by Tkachuk. Sent back around the end boards again. It's the fourth line of Nick Waugh, and they'll chip this into the right side of the red line. Finished off ahead. Barkov will try to find this one, but he's being hunted by Waugh. But nice strength there for Barkov to hold this, and now we're going to get a call, and we're going to get a cross check to the back of the head of somebody. That's the signal. I think it's going against the Golden Knights.
Yeah, now, John, this is just what we were talking about during the commercial break. That is a cross-check to the back of the head of Gudis, I believe, and he popped up immediately and throws a little bit of a retaliation. But the referee warning Gudis and giving the penalty to the Knights. So I believe that the Panthers will have another opportunity on the power play. This is their second of the period. Let's get all this sorted out. But this could be a massive chance, John, double that lead. Not just carry that one goal advantage into the room, but double it up before you head to the break.
Yeah, so we're getting offsetting. Good call by you. I didn't see the Ratko Gudis retaliation. That's tough on that side because, again, in Florida, essentially you were given a chance on the power play and you retaliated and threw it away.
Yeah, you're right, and I apologize. That's just the result of a little delay there for me. I was now seeing that Gudis was sent to the box as well, but I did see him take issue with, I mean, who would take a hockey stick to the back of the head, and Gudis certainly did, but had he just kept his composure, his team would be on the power play. But we'll have a 4-on-4, John, so some more ice to work with.
So we'll see who this favors right now because, again, Vegas, doesn't matter where they are right now, they've been able to do well no matter what the situation is. Now it's a delayed penalty against Florida. Oh, my goodness, here's a trip.
Wow, so bad to worse. Within not even a minute, John, you have Gudis who draws a penalty, then neutralizes the penalty drawn by taking one of his own, throwing a retaliatory cross-check, and now as Bobrovsky makes a save from way out, it's a clear tripping call, and I believe it's going to be Anthony Duclair going to the box, John. Either way, Panthers now a 4-on-3. This is pretty rare in terms of the roster that takes the ice, but either way, Vegas about to get started. This is not what you want to do to give them opportunities.
So if you're Florida, you got one of your primary sandpaper defensemen in the box alongside one of your fastest skaters, and now Vegas has a 4-on-3 advantage where they can essentially put Marchessault, Stone, and Eichel in that mix. That spells danger territory. You could very well see a goal right here. Shea Theodore now with Jack Eichel. Minute 25 left to go on the 4-on-3 man advantage. As Vegas can be very patient with this. Again, Florida needs to hold their triangle shape and try to make sure that Bobrovsky isn't screened, but Stone is providing it there. As Theodore sends it across, scores! Vegas, they got the opportunity, and they didn't waste it.
Well, John, I hate to say that we like to use the phrase spoken into existence. I'm not sure we said it in so many words, but I think we all felt the possibility rising, and right there, Bobrovsky goes down. I think potentially a deflection out front by Stone. We'll take a look at that replay, but absolute disaster for Florida. The only thing they can hold on to, John, is that they're not down in this game, but after really having the run of the play in the first period, they've given it all away in the course of about 90 seconds. It is now tied 1-1 here in Game 3.
Not only, I know there'll probably be some people throwing out some blame to Bobrovsky because he hasn't been worked that much and he's given up a goal, but that was deflected and he never saw it on that side. And again, you're Florida. You had an opportunity where you had a power play and then you retaliated and Duclair. I know he took a tough one when he got a piece of the back end of the skate, but those are ones that got to be called. Again, the only different thing for me in between last year, between Colorado and Tampa, it seemed like nothing was called. I think everything's being called right now. This feels more like regular season rules when you get to the Stanley Cup Finals, and that normally isn't the case when the whistles get swallowed, but it is what it is. You commit infractions that should be called. As Chandler Stephenson has it now. In Vegas, they can look to take the lead in this period. Considering how good Florida's played, that could be monumental. Here's an opportunity now. Barkov off the stick check. He tries to get a piece of it off the backhand setup. And this one is maybe stopped by Hill, but I'm not sure. That was a 2-on-1 that was denied. As the fans continue to be up in arms, but 2:55 left to go in the first, as this is recollected by Vegas. Here comes Jack Eichel. He gets taken down and dispossessed of the puck. 4-on-4 for about 5 more seconds. Florida's got it now with Carter Verhaeghe. Full spin back. Full strength now as we're getting the customary ref chants. You already know what they are. I don't even have to repeat it. Verhaeghe near the right side goes offsides.
Well, John, at this point, we do have to mention it. There has been a little bit of lack of puck luck. I know I was joking about luck earlier in the 7 goals that the Vegas Knights scored in Game 2 to take that easy win. But you know what? I think Florida has hit the post here, has rang the bar behind Aiden Hill, if not 4 times, at least 3 times in this period alone. Could be a very different hockey game, but we are still tied at 1 apiece.
That's an eagle eye by you. Again, I appreciate it. I had the forward, I missed it, but that one did ring the pipe. And again, that's about 3 or 4 times as you called. Rako Gudis, he's back out on the ice. Got to make sure he stays there. As this is recollected now for Florida. They'll rush the other way. And there'll be an opportunity, I believe, for Zach Dalpe. He's going to get some time on the ice. Staal will try to play one off of Aiden Hill's stick, and this one gets blocked by the Golden Knights. And this is sent back in. Florida has this off the forecheck. They'll pick it back up. They'll send a D-to-D. Here's Rako Gudis in the middle of the slot, a deflection, and this one's found by Hill.
Yeah, so Hill has had to dive and slide all over the blue paint. He's only let in the one. That was the beautiful wrister from Montour earlier in the period. But he looks up to the task tonight. Bobrovsky as well. The only one he has let in, a deflection by Stone, who was out in front unchecked on a power play. Man, this is turning into something very, very interesting here, John. Looked like Florida was going to walk into the room with a solid 1-goal lead, having played very well this first. And Vegas had other ideas.
Face-off win here by the Florida Panthers. Again, we'll give you the update that we just saw, but again, we can reset that about 1:50. That's what's left to go here in the first is Lindell. We'll put this around the end boards now. Riley Smith, he gets dispossessed of the puck. Florida steals it, and now Riley Smith, he could have an odd man opportunity. And this one is blocked nicely by Florida, but then it's turned over right in the middle of the circles. As Vegas will get back to it with chance for Alec Martinez. He'll pick this back up now, 1:25. 5 shots on goal to 4, but it's a goal apiece for both teams. It's recollected in between the legs. Now Ekblad was able to keep that one alive as Florida's got some puck possession. Anthony Duclair's back out there. Pick this up near the left side red line. As this is contested now by McNabb. Duclair will send this around the end boards, and now in the high slot, D-to-D, the slap shot goes wide as we're close to a minute left to go here in the first. Picked up. Barkov will try to center this out in front. Forsling going to let it fly, and this one goes wide near the right side of the glass as Theodore will chip this one. At Florida's end, but he did gain the red line. Florida's got it now. Bruce Cassidy's squad in the midst of some line changes. The Stephenson and Stone lines out there, and they've been dangerous. But you can roll out all 4 lines. They've been good for Vegas as the puck goes up and on a play.
Yeah, John, I just want to make a note. There's some interesting ice times development here, as it is very curious to know who Paul Maurice is relying upon early in this game, I should say. Sam Reinhart leading all skaters at over 8 minutes. And both Forsling and Montour, definitely that top pairing defenseman for the Panthers.
So Bennett against Stephenson. Bennett does win the draw. Chandler doesn't lose many of those. Montour shoots it. And this one just almost misses the right side of the post. Was looking for a deflection out in front. So Florida has been around it. This has been one of their better periods. But they have to feel a little bit unfortunate for as good as they played. It's still tied. They've iced the puck.
Yeah, you said it. Great summary there, my friend. And Florida has had a couple deflections here late as the period is about to expire. And they have to basically swallow a tough scenario here where they have looked like the better team, but they are tied at 1. It's tough to believe that's what happens when you give Vegas power play chances.
That's absolutely. It's been the moniker of this series so far at times when you only have yourself to blame with some of those things, but it really is the truth. The margins are that razor thin. Petrangelo. Good save by Bobrovsky. Is another goal toward the end of the period would spell an absolute disaster here, but Bobrovsky makes the save. Bennett gets taken down. Another cross check takes down another Panther. There's nobody in front to help Bobrovsky, but he bails him out anyway. My goodness. This is near the right side red line. And Florida should definitely be down now as Bennett off the backhand. They're going to run out of time. Bobrovsky just saved their bacon.
Wow, John, I'm just seeing that call, and because of the delay, I see that bouncing puck right in front to Vegas Golden Knights, essentially playing pinball with one of us, passing back and forth, basically, and Bobrovsky makes the save on the doorstep. The first period expires as Bennett was looking for a pass. The Florida Panthers do not get a shot off, even though they were in the high slot area. Bennett had the puck on his stick, but my goodness, bouncing puck. Stephenson was looking for, I thought it was Stone, but definitely one of his teammates right there next to him, and Bobrovsky paddles that thing aside. Incredible finish.
Well, we're talking about situations of the post, and they can go ahead and grant you there. Vegas should have had one, so I think we could say it's all even in the wash now.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's what's tough for Florida. Is right now they're traipsing back down that rubber-coated walkway to the room to discuss what exactly to do about the fact that they played the best that we've seen them in this final, and yet do not have an advantage. They had it for most of the period, gave it up after a deflection goal on the power play, as we've noted, courtesy of Captain Mark Stone for Vegas. John, are there any specifics that you are thinking of that Florida needs to change? I mean, obviously, managing their penalty situation is mandatory with Vegas playing so well, especially offensively. But are you seeing anything else? Because I've actually liked their game so far.
You know what? Honestly, Cooper, I'm going to go ahead and say that I've liked the game so far, with the exception of the penalties, as you called, because they've seemed like they've made some of the adjustments they didn't make in the first two games.
Yeah, sorry, I was actually still unmuted and then just muted myself. So of course, that's my one flub for the first period in intermission, hopefully. But yeah, John, it's pretty simple to me that Florida came in with I don't know, of course, the specifics of the game plan, and that goes without saying, but a difference was clear from puck drop. Those first few shifts told the story. That story continued throughout the period, and it was only altered by I would say the tripping penalty, and then unfortunately Radko Gudas with the retaliation and that cross check. Who knows what we'd be talking about if Florida had the opportunity to go on a second power play as opposed to giving one to their opponent in Vegas.
No, I agree on that side. I mean, it's really a situation where Florida probably should have the lead. Although, again, we just talked about the Vegas goal that probably could have been there. But Bobrovsky has stopped 5 out of 6. I'll give you a quick reset before we get into our intermission discussion. Aiden Hill stopped 4 out of 5. Brandon Montour opened the scoring, the new father on that side. His 7th from Tkachuk and Staal, and Mark Stone with his 8th on the power play from Marchessault and Theodore. And on that side, again, Vegas, as we noted, a power play goal. Their power play started to look pretty good of late, especially from Dallas and now against Florida. The shots read 6-5 advantage of Vegas, 9-3 on the hits for VGK, and 11-10 on the draws for the Panthers. So I'm going to get into this trade here really quick. And this is one of the rare times. Again, you can mark it down. It's about 9:06 Eastern on June 8th. I think this is a win-win-win on this side. So let's get into it. The Columbus Blue Jackets get defenseman Ivan Provorov. He played 82 games, 6 goals, 21 assists, 27 points. He carries a $6.7 million cap hit through 2025. Philadelphia gets Sean Walker in return. Again, 13 points in 70 games, $2.65 million cap hit through 2024. They get Cal Peterson, 5-3-2, 868 in the NHL, 16-20-4, 904 in Ontario. Again, Cal Peterson's probably about 25 years of age. He's still young enough to be able to kind of get something done if you want to go ahead and have a backup role with Carter Hart, but essentially because he has a $5 million cap hit through 25, he's probably going to be stashed in the minors. Philadelphia, because of that trade, also picks up rookie Hal Grans, 6'4", 205 defenseman. He was the 35th pick in the 2020 NHL draft, And for LA, this works out for them because they retain 30% of the Provorov contract, but they completely get rid of the Peterson contract. They're going to use that money to slime Vladislav Gavrikov, and that's what they did. He got a 2-year extension at $5.875 per.
Yeah, well, great summary right there, John. You literally said it all, and I actually agree with you. I think this is a win-win-win. Not to keep you on the spot, I have my own thought, but I'll tee it up for you first. You can deflect it right back to me if you want me to take the lead on it. But okay, we have 3 wins. All right, so the first word win, the second word win, and the third word, they're all win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the words is just standard font. I think one of the words is bolded, and I think one of the wins has a question mark on the end. If you had to apply those to the 3 words yourself, which way would you be leaning? Why don't we start with Columbus? Do you think it's just a standard win, a bolded win, or maybe there's a question mark there?
Oh, man, that's a tough one because I think Philadelphia, you might be able to put the question mark there, but I'm going to at least say for Columbus, I'm going to go ahead and say bolded because that's a name that people recognize. And they brought in Babcock. I mean, we talked about that. They want to make the changes. They're trying to do something now. So I'm going to say bolded.
Okay, you picked up exactly what I was putting down. It was a multiple choice question. And if I were the teacher, John, if I had to grade that thing, that Scantron, okay, you're 1 for 1 so far. So well done. Let's see if we can get the others and get you a passing grade and get you out of here because it is summer. So who wants to be doing classroom analogies? All right, so I agree with you. I think that Columbus, and listen, a Columbus team in need of some good news. I know they have news. We certainly talked about it
right.
with the recent hire of their coach. I'm not sure that their fan base, look, we're never going to get full details, but I'm not sure a lot of that roster considers it necessarily good news that their new head coach will be Mike Babcock. So leaving that aside, since we touched on that, I actually like the Provorov acquisition. I think that that's going to shore up a blue line that desperately needs it. I mean, you could basically make improvements anywhere up and down that Columbus lineup and essentially get a thumbs up because they have a lot of holes in the boat that need to be filled, and I think they just did that. Now, let's go with the question mark. I think it's a win across the board. Where would you place the question mark if you had to? Where it's probably a win, but maybe it's the flimsiest one.
So if I have to, I'm giving it to Philadelphia because I think LA has the regular win. They needed to slime Gavrikov and take out payment, and they did that. So I'm going to give the question mark to Philadelphia. I'll give the standard to LA.
Okay, that's it. The man, you just scored an A+. I'm handing your test back to you with a big A on it, and circle around it. Take it home, put it on the fridge, my friend, because you just nailed that thing. LA did exactly what they needed to do. Make some space, make a move that makes sense. Gavrikov needs to stay. He does stay. I think he's also at a good number. And then, Philly gets the question mark ever so slightly. I think those are some pieces that may contribute in a positive way. That's to be determined. And therefore, not that it's negative at all. They just happen to get the question mark this time. So, John Ott, ABC, if I had to pick a letter for you, sir, I already gave it to you. It's an A.
I appreciate that. And again, you're not even just saying that because we're friends on that side. I think we're both at lines of agreement. That one is tough on that side. But I think Philadelphia also had to do that part of it. I know it's no fun when you're in a situation when you have to kind of rebuild, but they got a long way to go on that side. So speaking of Philadelphia, as of right now, no imminent trade is in the works for Carter Hart. He's a restricted free agent, about $4 million for next year. The rumors for Carter right now, again, these are only rumors, but you got to think about these ones could be pretty accurate because Columbus on that side, they do need a goaltender. He could be one that can get that done if you want to make the changes now. But I will throw in the LA Kings on that side. He saved a lot of money. If you get somebody like Carter Hart, the only guy signed right now at all is Phoenix Copley. They still got to figure out what they're doing with Jonas Korpisalo.
Yeah, that's true. Another good line drawn between the Flyers and the Kings. We're going cross country here, just tying these teams together throughout our conversation during this intermission. And that's a really good point. And I would say, look, John, you and I, we covered a lot of Pacific Division action this past year, this regular season. We saw a number of games where Phoenix Copley looked really, really good. Listen, this is based on how we felt literally months ago when we were in the midst of broadcast, watching Phoenix Copley play and evaluating his game. I feel like he's closer to being able to handle an everyday top goaltender spot and responsibilities in this league. I feel like, now tell me if your opinion's changed. I feel like you weren't as close as I am in thinking that he's ready for that role. Therefore, Carter Hart could be a great acquisition. Either way, it's a great acquisition. You let the two battle,
Yes.
Team comes out on top, and you have, now listen, you know me, I'm going to slide in a Flames reference when I can, and you have a situation where when the Flames goaltenders were at their best, you basically had a 1A, 1B. I don't think LA would turn their nose up at that at all.
No, they wouldn't, because there was a situation where, look, I understand Copley's numbers weren't great at times, but that was because Jonathan Quick, no disrespect to him, but he was looking like a sieve at some points. I know he's in the back end of his career. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and a multiple-time Stanley Cup winner, but at sometimes you lose it. They had to turn to him, and they were able to get wins when he was in the crease. He was in the back half of my all-star ballot part of it, but I know it went to Stuart Skinner on that end just because of the numbers and the recognition. He's good enough. I think they're going to likely put him in a backup scenario. That's just me.
Yeah, and that's what that was the inkling that I had. I'm correct in thinking that your mentality had stayed the same, and I think that that's probably better for Copley's development as well. Though I'm slightly more inclined to believe that he may succeed if given the responsibility. I think, yeah, absolutely better off if he's able to still sit and observe, and somebody like a Carter Hart can come in who's a little more accustomed to taking on that big workload. And you know what? We hear the phrase "change of scenery" a lot. I do think that applies here. We don't have necessarily a rotten situation that Copley, I'm all over the place, that Hart needs to get out of. But he would be a beneficiary, I think, of a move to Los Angeles, who is a team that has a lot of strengths right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that anymore. On that side for Chicago, just some minor news. Andreas Anthony, the former Red Wing, signs a 2-year, $4.25 cap hit. That sounds like a lot because it is on that side. He did have 40 points on the season. But Davidson, the GM, says, we want to make sure that we get to at least the salary cap floor if it's going to help us do this. And for the Blackhawks on that side, they are very open to being able to trade the 19th pick.
Yeah, that is a development that I had not heard as much about, John. But that detail, I think, could be a really interesting piece. As we get closer and closer to the draft, I know this is a broad statement, but it is always so fascinating to see what pieces move in order for teams to give up drafts, to gain things immediately, change their team on the fly as opposed to build for the future. So although I don't have a ton to add in terms of specifics, it's definitely something I want to keep an eye on as we get to the draft.
And we will keep in mind on that, and also we will keep in mind for next year for Connor Bedard on that side, regardless of one of our teams if they play the Blackhawks or not at some point. Get a chance to look at that because they will be on the watch list. But here's the big news of the first intermission. I'll save the TV coverage one for our second intermission part of it. The Winnipeg, Pierre LeBrun. Again, this is two Pierres. So Pierre LeBrun, the Canadian Sports, reports that Pierre-Luc Dubois, the 24-year-old restricted free agent, requests a trade, and he's not going to sign with the Jets. For Pierre-Luc Dubois' numbers, 73 games played, 27 goals, 36 assists, 63 points, and a +5. I think he's going to command a lot of money. He's been rumored to Montreal for about a year. But is there any sort, let me throw to the panel here, and Cooper, you're part of that on that side of it, is there any sort that worry about Dubois? Because he was with the Columbus Blue Jackets, he wanted out. He was with the Jets, and he wanted out. But I will play devil's advocate on the other end and say, look at the situations both of those teams have been in, especially with Kevin Shovel-Dayoff and the Jets when they're always talking about staying in pat, and you're talking about some of the things with the Blackhawks history. And Columbus is always in shambles. It's no wonder why he wanted out.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with all of those things fundamentally. It surprises me a little bit. Winnipeg had a solid year, John. I mean, it wasn't a banner. Literally, it was not a banner year. They did not earn a banner, but they still made some positive impacts, I think. And of course, in the playoffs, run into a Las Vegas team that is here tonight and playing like a team that is, inches away from getting their hands on the Stanley Cup. So no shame in falling to them as they did. But I guess, you make the most interesting piece of your comment breaking down the situation with Pierre-Luc Dubois is the fact that this now is becoming a running trend with him. The, play a few years, don't like my situation, I'm going to request a trade. I will say at least he's making his intentions known. That was not the case with Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary, though for different reasons, it seems. But it's just strange to me, John, that Pierre-Luc Dubois, after a season like Winnipeg had, which I know was maybe a little less, had a little bit less luster to it than they had hoped. They did kind of have to sneak their way in toward the end. I'm just a little surprised that he's making this request. I'll put it that way.
And we're going to see what else happens, because it's not just Pierre-Luc Dubois. When I had a little bit of look on Cap Friendly, again, I'm not sitting there calling this. The Dubois one's done. He's going to be moved maybe to Montreal, maybe somewhere else. That's where he's rumored to be. He's from Quebec on that side. But who else has 1 year left on their deal? Connor Hellebuck, the Commerce Township, Michigan native, and also on that side, Mark Scheifele and Nito Niederreiter. There's going to be a lot of GMs calling shovel day off.
Oh, yeah, that goes without question. And we will see which of those pieces go. You would imagine it's not just going to be Dubois, which is essentially a guarantee, if not in contract yet, basically in every other respect. But, this is a scenario, John, where we could be looking at a very, very different Winnipeg Jets team. And, this is very similar in my mind to what the Flames are facing, where if you start to lose 1 or 2 or 3 pieces, of course you're going to get things back. But as your team shifts and takes on a different look, are you that much closer to a rebuild than you really are to the playoffs? Those are the tough questions that these GMs have to answer.
And Cooper, again, I hate to throw this to you so quickly on that side, but isn't that what the fans were kind of speaking of when they were getting a little frustrated that Winnipeg was standing pat a little bit too much? But again, at the same time, I look at the roster and everything else that they had. They had to go back to war with the assets that they have, because they have some supremely talented top-end players.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's really those two Canadian teams, when we think about the Flames and the Jets, similar situations, obviously not exactly the same, but solid pieces that underperformed. Of course, one made the playoffs, one did not, so that absolutely changes things, not only for the franchise, but for the fan base as well. But it seems like Winnipeg is going through some changes here and will have tough decisions to make. Can they keep the majority of the band together to keep this ride going, as they're literally a playoff team? Will that be the case moving forward? To be determined. And obviously, Dubois is going to be one of the first significant pieces out of there, with others to follow, no doubt.
No doubt about that. On that side, I wanted to make this mention too, and this is also thankful to the hockey guy on YouTube again that we can talk about this, but it's also not a joke. What's also starting is the AHL Calder Cup Finals. It's going to be the Seattle Valley Coachella Firebirds against the Hershey Bears. So I think we're going to see Ty Cartier on the ice.
Yes, we are. Ty Cartier, who is our new favorite player. Isn't that right, John? the playoff legend, Ty Cartier. He's got an NHL Stanley Cup playoffs gold puck somewhere on his trophy wall. What a job stepping in for Schwartz when he was injured for the Kraken during their couple rounds here in the playoffs. And I'm looking forward to seeing if Ty Cartier can make an impact. Obviously, he's just on the cusp there of being a regular, everyday NHLer, and is someone that we're going to remember for a long time, and hopefully gets another shot, legitimate shot, as the next regular season rolls around.
Absolutely. Do you want to take this second period?
Yeah, what the heck? Let's do it. You're going to have to do what you always do. Hold your breath if something big happens for about 10 seconds, and then I'll come around and make the live call. But big thanks to the guys for sticking with us here at Game 3. And, we're about to hit puck drop in period number 2 at FLA Live Arena in Sunrise, Florida. Again, it's a 1-1 game after a relatively late first period goal on the 4-on-3 power play. Deflection by Mark Stone. Earlier in the first, Brandon Montour, the defenseman for the Florida Panthers, at home tonight, of course, he opened the scoring to get the first of the night. So 6 shots officially in the first period. and 5 shots officially in the first period for Vegas and Florida, respectively. John, it's worth noting on the TNT side, the graphic just came up. Matthew Tkachuk not currently on the bench. They are describing it as having left the game in the first period. And John, we have a penalty coming up here. Yes, indeed, we do. Just about 20 seconds or 25 seconds into this second period, a tripping call I think is going to go against Vegas here.
Is that William Carrier again? That's his 3rd penalty in this game.
Yes, it absolutely is. A great eye by you. And boy, that is a lazy stick right there. He's trying to stop White from breaking down the far boards along the wing. And man, yeah, it's a custom that we're used to seeing here in this game 3. That is Carrier. Now he's going to have his minutes 5 and 6 of penalty time. Florida gets to start this second period with a man advantage. They could take a hold of this game yet again, John, so we'll see what happens.
Yes, they could. And for Cassidy, I'm not even joking about this on that side. 3 penalties, and they're so deep, he might see his ice time dwindle.
Yeah, I think you have to consider it. It just could be one of those nights where either the player is not fully mentally focused or is just a bit snake-bitten in that regard. But either way, you got to shake things up. You can't let that, not to use the snake analogy too much, but let that poison your night, because Vegas did a great job to tie this game, again, relatively late in the first period. So they start their penalty kill well as they clear the puck all the way down to Bobrovsky, who puts the big glove behind it, traps it, and leaves it for a teammate. 20 seconds gone here in the man advantage, and through the neutral zone comes Sam Reinhart, going to flank this one into the near corner. Back into the trapezoid is Hill, where he pushes it to the far corner. Now multiple players battle for the puck, where it will rattle out to Sam Bennett. So again, no Matthew Tkachuk here, as the 45-degree angle pass goes to Montour, sends it up to the circle on the far side, drop back from Montour, has to chase it down, dive, keeps it in. Bennett holds that puck on the blue line. Great teamwork right there, but it is all for naught as Vegas finds that puck, collects it, and sends it back down the ice. Now, Bobrovsky doing his best Vegas impression as he looks like he's clearing that thing back the other direction. Speaking of directions, the Florida Panthers, wearing their red home uniforms, are going left to right in this second period. In the road whites with gold for Vegas, they will be moving right to left on your radio dial. So just over half of the man advantage now expired for Florida, as there is a deflected puck being chased down. Nice forecheck by Vegas right there, but puck bounces free from the near side and will be carried through the neutral zone back to Bennett. So this first power play line is out there for the entirety, essentially, of the power play. And that's something that Florida likes to do, John. Maybe we can touch on that when this power play expires, if it will do so. It looks like it will, because Vegas, once again, collects the puck. And with 29 seconds to go, they clear it all the way down. And now loose puck is at the top of the circle as it's shot on. Just wide by Vegas. I thought there was a save there off the shoulder of Bobrovsky, but it sailed wide of his net. So a shorthanded opportunity that goes begging for the visitors. And again, Florida likes to carry through that neutral zone with the man advantage. They do so right there. Now, Whitecloud sends one in. It's deflected off a body, but not on the net. It goes wide. It's in Hill's right. 3 seconds now in the power play, John. This thing's going to expire. I guess I spoke that into existence, to use our phrase that we love so much. Here comes Carrier out of the box. Does a nice job right there to battle for the puck, and cannot find a teammate in the neutral zone. Now, a big development, John. We saw a pop-in video screen. That was Matthew Tkachuk returning to the bench. Looks like he will come back into this game with 17 minutes to go here in the second period. And officially, the Panthers 0 for 2 on their power play. Also officially, John, no shots on either of those power plays. So the puck now to Bobrovsky. He steps out of his crease, decides not to play the puck, leaves it, and that was a good choice. Florida's able to get the puck back to neutral zone. And now Whitecloud takes over for Vegas. It's being skated through and taken into the O-zone. Here comes Vegas with somebody stick down, and then off a skate goes the puck, and a couple of bodies, including Dalby, go right into Bobrovsky. Barbashev is there near Ekblad, and players come together. Bobrovsky just tries to get out of the net, which he was pushed into.
Yeah, I don't see that very often for Vegas on that side, getting the physicality on Bobrovsky on that. It would have been more of an accident or so, but I'm looking at it right now. As TNT is panning onto it, it's Matthew Tkachuk, so maybe a little bit less time for Dalby, but we'll see how much Tkachuk is going to be able to give. He's already got 1 point in this game. Do you feel like they're going to need much more?
Yeah, and talking about time, this is just something that's on my brain this evening. Montour now up to 11 minutes tonight. Reinhart just short of 10 minutes. So those two are your leaders for Florida. And on the Vegas side, things distributed a little more evenly At 9:29, Alex Pietrangelo leading defenseman. And on the skater side, it's actually Stephenson who has about 8 minutes just short of ice time. So interesting stuff there as the faceoff comes to Bobrovsky's right. Nice D-zone win coming off the draw right there for Florida as it's picked up by Montour. He backhands this puck along, and it is fluttered down to Hill. They'll forehand it with a big paddle to one of his defensemen, and that puck is touched on a little too far for the Knights to keep it in their possession. Montour will collect and send it to the far corner, but now Vegas doing a good job with Barbashev. Boy, he's having a great series. John did a nice bit of extra work right there. Does it again. That's 2 times in a row. He's intercepted passes in the offensive zone. Wasn't able to develop any grade A scoring chances. But boy, that's the kind of effort you need to see. That's what we're accustomed to from Vegas here in this final. Those extra pushes that result in opportunities. So Florida's going to take over right here. Gudas with it. Can't mistake him. He's got that big logger's beard, but the puck bounces, and it is onside. Boy, I thought that was going to be an offside call here, but Vegas sets up. Here's a shot from the circle, and a glove save from right inside by Bobrovsky. Keeps this game tied.
Man, he absolutely robbed Nicholas Hague. That was a gorgeous sauce pass from the right to left dot, and mark that one absolutely. Again, we talked about Vegas 20-5 goal differential in that second period when they take over. Florida cannot allow unassigned players to walk right in the middle of the slot.
Boy, you know what? I want to give Gudas some credit right there. He did an excellent job checking Amadio right on the doorstep. Had Amadio been anywhere closer, could have been a deflection goal. Gudas tied him up and allowed Bobrovsky to focus on the shooter alone. I think that's part of the reason that he was able to make that snazzy glove save. So Bobrovsky, again, doing huge yeoman's work, keeping his team tied in this thing. Florida has looked decent in the second period, but it's been much more even, whereas Florida had more of the run of play in the first. Now, here's another hold in by Vegas at the blue line, and this one will be no issue for Bobrovsky as the shot from William Karlsson, the longtime Knight, goes right into the breadbasket for another stop.
And you're going to see the development here shortly as I see all the old Florida Panthers jersey. I love those logos. Matthew Tkachuk's going to take his first time on ice here in the second period.
Yes, he does, John. You called it. Thank you for giving me the heads up. Matthew Tkachuk comes on. I don't want to say gingerly, but leisurely. He comes back onto the ice, and that brings some of these Panthers fans to their feet for a partial standing ovation, respecting Matthew Tkachuk's toughness, his diligence, and his drive to stay in this contest and do as much as he can do for his team as they need him very badly down in the Stanley Cup final by 2-0. And there's Matthew Tkachuk's first contribution. Tried to find a teammate with a pass from distance, and that one stretches a little too far. It's iced.
The question is now, again, I'm just throwing it out there. If you're Vegas, do you key in on him, or do you continue to do what you've been doing that's been working through this series?
I think you go with the latter, John. Obviously, Tkachuk is a target with what he did to Eichel. Again, completely clean hit, but still almost took out one of your star players. I think you want to let that stick in your mind, but not in the sense that it's going to change your game. I think they have to continue doing what they're doing, and what they're doing, John, is usually scoring goals on all of their opponents, including Florida. But again, right now, still tied at 1 as the offensive zone draw for Vegas is lost, but they do end up with the puck. It's now on Stephenson's stick, back to the trapezoid. Boy, he's doing a good job of holding off Ekblad, and there's a bouncing puck right in front. Bobrovsky couldn't find it. We're going to have a delayed penalty, John, against the Florida Panthers. They touch up, and we will have a holding call. Ekblad screaming, disagreeing with the referees, but it won't matter, John. Vegas going on another man advantage.
Vegas had a shot that just grazed off the bar, but that hold from Ekblad on Stephenson, I don't normally do this, but I got to give a shout out to the referee. That was a hell of a vertical jump.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He had to clear not only Stephenson's stick shaft. And you're right, John. I thought it was a bouncing puck that went through the crease. I need to get my depth perception checked. Actually, going to have to ask you to go to the post office and mail me your glasses, please, because that one rang off the crossbar. And it, again, stays 1-1. So many bars hit tonight, most of them by the Panthers, but now you can chalk one up for Vegas, but also chalk up another power play. They are on it right now, and the centering pass right there from the near corner by Stephenson goes begging as Florida will take this thing over and ship it out. Nice job by Reinhardt. You can see why he gets so much ice time, John. He's, I believe, on both the second power play unit and the first penalty killing unit, along with his 5-on-5. So here's Stone. He's at the half boards on the near side, going to drop it back to the blue line. That's then to be sent over to the right point point, held in by Vegas, and still held. Now down in the far, up in the far corner. Held, pass back to the blue line. Vegas just cycling now, passing, finding great passing lanes. The pass goes off of the far boards and is picked up. Vegas holds, looks for a lane. Florida doing a good job of clogging up the middle. Reinhardt now up top. Vegas still holds. Looking for that pass down low. Stephenson goes to Marchessault and a right pad save. Boy, that was taking a long time to develop, John, but develop it did. And Bobrovsky slides left to right, makes that toe save. Again, keeps this thing tied at 1. Now, a shot from up top. Great stick move right there by Stone. Pulls it back in front of a defender. Grimaces as he skates back to the bench because Bobrovsky says no.
Man, Stephenson with a no-look pass to Marchessault. Stop with the left pad. Stop Stone with the right pad. He's locked in right now, but it's got to continue because Vegas still has 50 seconds thereabouts on this power play.
John, I'm going to put a question to you right now. I know that you're probably going to see live play start again, but do you feel the tide starting to turn? You can't keep giving Vegas these power plays. They're looking great.
I do. I'm getting pretty nervous here, my friend.
We know how you feel. You're rooting for the Florida Panthers tonight, as am I. We'll stay neutral and professional if we can. My goodness, Florida, you got to keep it at 5-on-5. No more of this stuff with the man advantage for the visitors. There's a shot from outside on the shorthanded attempt, which goes well wide of Aiden Hill's net. That was driven in for the Panthers by number 12, Eric Staal, of course, the veteran, the winner of the Stanley Cup in 2006 with the Carolina Hurricanes. And now the puck is bouncing around in the far corner, picked up by the Knights. They have some good passing going on here. Now a backhand attempt. Bobrovsky comes out, makes himself big, and forces that shot to go wide. It's going to be picked up by Marchessault down low. Make that Carlson. Now Carlson with the puck right there. Tries to send it top side to the corner, and it flies by the net as Bobrovsky watches it sail and hit off the glass. Boy, Vegas doing a great job of possessing the puck here on the power play. Though the power play does expire. Now they have it down low. Backhand attempt. Actually gets through Bobrovsky, but he got enough of that puck, John, to, again, I'm going to say this phrase time and again, he keeps it tied somehow. My goodness, Vegas with a fantastic effort on the power play that did everything but score. 12 minutes and 40 seconds to go here in the second period. Now 11 shots for Vegas in the game. That's 5 in the second period alone. No shots in the second period for the Florida Panthers. They still are stuck at just 5 for the game. I'm Cooper Hopkins on the play-by-play here in the second alongside John Ott as the pass was sort of a shot pass, bounces off a body in front and ends up near Hill. He kind of blockers that thing aside in a leisurely fashion. And Gudis now will try to send the puck out of his own defensive zone, whiffs, but then recovers. Now 12 minutes, 10 seconds to go here in the second. Bobrovsky signals with the paddle, and the puck is behind him and to the near boards. Florida picks it up now, one-on-one the other way. Driving the net right there is Duclair. Tries to bring it around one-handed. Gets tied up, John. I think he drew a penalty. Yes, indeed. Hand in the air. So Florida, another power play chance. John, we're getting a lot of special teams tonight.
Yes, we are. Braden McNabb's going to go to the sin bin here. Florida does not have a shot on goal. Vegas has as many as Florida does. They have 5 in this second period. Now, I'm going to tell you this in all honesty. I think Florida's got to score right now. This is looking one-sided.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you know what, I will hedge my bets ever so slightly. I fully agree with you. However, I'll give you one caveat. The caveat is if Florida can look like Vegas just looked on the power play, that's a win for me. Florida has to reestablish what they built in the first period. Obviously, Paul Maurice's game plan was put into play. It seems like the team has gotten away from that a little bit because they keep hamstringing themselves by taking penalties. Well, guess what? Now the shoe's on the other foot, John. If they can hold some ozone time, connect solid passes together, find clear shooting lanes, and at least get listen, just the math of it. Just get a couple shots to Hill. Make him work. Tire out some of these penalty killers for Vegas and see where you land after that.
I will completely grant you the hedge the bets. I think you said that perfectly, and I can split the middle again. You want to just not key in my nervousness as much. I'm trying to be as professional as possible. This will be the one game that it might get away from me on this side, but we do have to lock it on this point. It is 4 penalties aside for both teams, and we think about the Stanley Cup final for last year, my friend. I mean, this is like 3 games worth of penalties.
Yeah, it's not something that I was expecting to see tonight, especially from Florida. I mean, listen, every coach in any sport that has penalties or fouls is going to say, listen, don't foul, don't take penalties, manage that side of the game. But guess what? It's Braden McNabb doing what he needed to do. I think that is actually, quote unquote, good penalty to take. If Anthony Duclair had the opportunity to get both hands on the stick, I think he pulls that back and has a clear point-blank forehand chance there. So you know what? I'll give him that one, but Florida has to capitalize. That's what we're both saying.
We'll see right now if they can do that. Tkachuk is back out on the ice.
So, again, apologies to the boys here with us. A little bit of delay on my side. I'm going to point the finger at, we'll say Steve Jobs. He was still alive when Apple TV came out. So, wherever you are, Mr. Jobs, what the hell, buddy? All right, so 2 minutes for the Florida Panthers on the board. Montour, no surprise, out there. He will captain this thing. Sam Bennett also back up top. So 4 forwards and the 1 defenseman technically for the Panthers on this first unit. Now the puck's taken by Tkachuk down low, and he sort of stick handles himself out of play right there. He lifted the stick blade a little too high. Puck slides to the near corner, but Florida holds it in. Puck bouncing off skates in front. Chasing down is William Karlsson. He's in a battle right there, and Karlsson does a great job to come away with it. He wanted to break away, I think, but stretched the pass out a little too far. Was actually looking at carrying it to himself off the boards, and it went down to the other end of the ice near Bobrovsky. So picking up here is Reinhart. Again, Reinhart everywhere for the Panthers tonight, both special team sides and 5-on-5. Good job by Sam Bennett along the far wall right there to keep the puck in. Vegas looking to clear. Bennett got his blade on that thing, kept it in. So now he's going to go cross ice to Montour. Montour, instead of shooting, going to send it down low. Matthew Tkachuk looking for a teammate, drops it off. Going to be held right there and sent back to Tkachuk. And now the puck is down low and it goes right through the crease. Excuse me, I glanced away for just a moment. I noticed Aiden Hill sliding left to right. He did not have to make a save, but the puck was passed through his area of the ice. And there's a shot on. That went through traffic, bounced off the pads, and a nice clear by Vegas all the way down to Bobrovsky. So Stone, actually the first player on the ice to get down to Bobrovsky's end. So Bobrovsky had to turn it back, and he does find a teammate now. Is no change has been made. Again, Maurice keeping that power play 1 unit out there. It may have been a partial change, but either way, Reinhart really being relied upon tonight. Tkachuk still out there as well. Leaves it right there. Now it's up top. The Florida Panthers, I believe, do have 1 shot technically on this power play. There's a great pass at an angle. Bouncing puck in front is loose. It was out in front of Hill. He couldn't find it. Even if he had, he wouldn't have been able to stretch to it unless he dove for it. But he was not called into action in that regard. It was cleared away by the skaters in front of him. And well, they did, because the power play now expires back to full strength are both sides. So the puck is carried in right there by Lindell of Florida, back to Ekblad at the right point. Tries to float it toward Hill, but he cannot find Verhaeghe. So the puck is bouncing in the near corner, where it's taken over by Vegas. 9:45 to go here. Loose puck in front. That one somehow came all the way in from the blue line. Boy, I'm getting surprised here myself, John. Didn't expect that to make it to Hill, but it did. And Hill had to turn it aside. So now the Florida Panthers are going to send it back in, have to get back and touch up after delayed offside here. I was just trying to give you the time left in the second, which is 9:20 now. 13 shots for Vegas, and now Florida does have a couple of shots in this period. We're at 9 total for the game. But again, 0-for-3 on the power play are the Panthers. There's a wrister from about 50 feet out right there. This blocker to side. Nice shot on right there by Dalby. He continues to get ice time, John, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we're down to 9 minutes to go here in the second. The game still tied at 1, courtesy of first period goals by Montour of Florida and Stone of Vegas. Now, speaking of Vegas, they're going to break in on Bobrovsky. Boy, almost the mirror play of Anthony Duclair's drive to the net that drew a penalty. That was Vegas's Jack Eichel. Boy, he took a massive hit from Tkachuk a couple of nights ago, but he looks no worse for wear. Boy, he has had a jump tonight, and I am glad to see him on the ice. That was such a dangerous situation off of a very clean and violent hit by number 19 in red. Now, speaking of red, here comes Sam Bennett. He gets more time here. He's going to turn that puck back, drop it off for Montour, who skates through the far circle. Backhand that's turned off to the right of Hill's net. Nice save right there by Aiden Hill. Montour going to try to find a teammate at the left point. Can't do so. That was Bennett who he was targeting. Bennett can't get to the puck, and it's now out of the zone, taken by the Knights. The Knights get it out with Smith. Now the puck bouncing. William Karlsson gets pushed off the puck by Montour. Boy, Montour everywhere, John, for the Florida Panthers. And here's Karlsson, the pass across. Stopped by Bobrovsky. Boy, that was a wide open shot. McNabb streaking in from his defensive position. Could have made it 2-1, but again, this phrase of the night, John, somehow keeps it tied, and another shot on by the Knights goes up into the netting. That was Carrier with the wrister from about 20 feet out, and Florida's going wild here, but they should also be holding their breath, my friend, because Vegas looks so dangerous.
Man, there's some heart in your throat moments as you go to break. Braden McNabb got stonewalled by Bobrovsky in TNT coverage. Again, they are outlining Tkachuk as they should. He was in front of the net. He took a cross check on one end, still able to deliver the play, almost got a deflection that Aiden Hill had to stop that just missed the right side of the crossbar. And we're all feeling it right now as this game's getting pretty intriguing. Florida's finally getting on that shot board thanks to that power play that I think probably jump-started it, as you called.
Yeah, I think they did just enough on the power play to make the difference that we were asking them to make, kind of hoping that they would make. I think it could have been a little cleaner, could have been a little more consistent, but listen, you can say that about a lot of things. In any Stanley Cup final game, nothing's going to be perfect. I think they'll take that effort. But my goodness, after, I don't want to say a quiet first period because excellent saves were made by both netminders. Bobrovsky in particular, although Hill has looked good as well, Bob in particular, John, making huge stops. This could be another scenario where if Bob weren't at the top of his game, we're talking about, a 3-4-1 Vegas lead right now.
Yeah, he's looking at this point right now. I'm not going to say Carolina mode in the Eastern Conference final side of it, but he's looked as locked in as he's looked in quite a while.
Yeah, and especially on that save by McNabb, who gets to his forehand, a beautiful pass across as he streaks in from the blue line, and he's in that near circle not far from the face-off dot, and he fires one right on. He actually, John, had quite a bit of the net to look at. Bobrovsky was trying to find the puck through the screen, ends up sliding left to his right, does Bobrovsky, and boy, he did so just in time. I think if McNabb had a little more touch on that thing, which again is tough to do when you're going 30 miles per hour on knife blades on your feet, that's a different kind of a story. And he just pushed that one a little toward the corner, the right upper corner of the net. That's 2-1 Vegas lead. But Bob does a great job and freezes that puck on the save.
We'll have to make sure as we talk about, we'll see which way this pendulum swings because it's kind of swung both ways so far in the second.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the number 2 of the second period makes me think of the current lead that Vegas has in the series. Again, it's a 2-0 lead here in the final, and Vegas has the puck in the O-zone with 7 minutes and 25 seconds to go here in the second period. Now officially 13 shots for the visitors, 10 for the home team. That one sent across by McNabb. He was looking for sort of a shot pass there and a deflection, but the puck goes through legs and past Bobrovsky. And the Florida Panthers will try to get this out of their zone, which they do, but the puck is taken over in the neutral zone and sent right back through by Vegas. But a bouncing puck near the logo at center ice falls, I thought it was going to fall to Florida, and then falls to Bobrovsky. It was bouncing. Bobrovsky had a puck up in the air, sort of floating in front of his eyes, in front of his visor, John, tried to snag it with the trapper, actually ended up passing it to a Golden Knight. And now the Knights have the puck in their own end. Boy, Verhaeghe was just dumped down. That looked like interference to me, potentially, but no call. The fans wanted a call there, but no whistle comes. So 6.5 to go here in the second. Again, Cooper Hopkins here with you alongside John Ott. Third game in a row in this Stanley Cup final, happy to say, and we will get a stoppage. The Knights go in just offside, but man, there were some interesting sequences there. Bobrovsky almost did himself in on that one.
Bobrovsky tried to catch the vulcanized rubber with his right glove. He ended up putting it toward the left post, and Howden kissed the post with a wrist shot, and I felt like I had a frog in my throat.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been an absolute backbreaker, but Bobrovsky, he forced himself to make a huge blocker stop. And you know what? He said, I need something else for my highlight reel tonight. I don't have enough. So he set it up himself. He just happened to set up the Golden Knights with that one. So second period chances, the Knights are doubling up Florida at 8-4 with official scoring chances. As we close in on the latter portion of this middle stanza, stretch pass intended for Duclair was a little bit behind the skater. And he ends up doing a nice job there. Again, he's doing work with one hand on the stick. He's able to do some forechecking sort of inadvertently and keep the puck in. But Florida, now I was about to say the puck got out, but good job by the Panthers to keep it in the zone. Kept that puck about 6 feet or so in front of the blue line, and they'll look to hold it at the far boards and do so. Good job here by the third line the other way, John. A pass goes back to Marchessault, looks to center, but I think play was whistled down, and we are going to have a penalty. I'm having a bit of trouble, Mr. Ott, if you can pick me up since you're in the future, quote unquote. Looks like we're going to have a penalty against the Panthers. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
The captaincy, Alexander Barkov, he cleaned out Zach Whitecloud in front of the net. He didn't even need to do it. That was not a good penalty there, and we're going to start the carousel again. If you can pick me up just for about a minute, I'll be right back, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. You did a great job of helping me out with that penalty. So that's going to be Barkov, who throws the cross-check to the back of Whitecloud, and as John pointed out, that was not necessary. So we have hit the commercial break here as we close in on the final piece of this second period, and let's take a quick look back at our goal scorers tonight. There haven't been a ton. There have been a ton of chances, however. So 5:47 left to go officially in the second, and we are at the TV timeout. Brandon Montour in the first period with his 7th of the playoffs at 4:08, with assists from none other than Matthew Tkachuk and Eric Staal, and with his 8th of the playoffs for the Golden Knights at 16:03. So sort of bookending that first period. Stone gets a power play goal with assists from Theodore and Jonathan Marchessault. So as John has been noting, the Bobrovsky play from moments ago was a critical one. I was expecting a goal there, to be completely honest. And for you boys, if you have the video feed, if you're watching on television tonight, you saw that thing firsthand. But the description of it on the radio side, at least, was basically a puck that I think Bobrovsky was not expecting. There was a centering pass out from up top near the blue line that actually made it through traffic. Bobrovsky had that thing saved, but it was floating in front of his face, tries to grab it with the trapper, ends up passing it inadvertently across to Holden, who fires off a forehand wrister, and Bobrovsky goes left to right, stretches out, makes that blocker stop. So lots to talk about tonight. Jonathan Marchessault, who definitely has been noticeable, but Matthew Tkachuk, he spent some time away from the lineup. He was in the room getting maintenance after taking a big hit in that first period. But Matthew Tkachuk is back out now, and he is on the ice as well, as the offensive zone draw is won by the Vegas Golden Knights. Jack Eichel tries to cycle it back, but Ekblad will do a good job of pushing that thing out to the neutral zone where Vegas must retreat. Now they enter the zone on this power play with 15 seconds elapsed. And excuse me, I thought that Tkachuk was on the ice. That is none other than Reinhart. I've said his name a million times. He gets so much ice time for Florida. He does it all for this Panthers team. And now at the blue line, the Vegas Golden Knights will send this one down low to the near half boards where Stone picks it up. Stone now driving toward the blue paint. Now Marchessault goes to Stone. Stone backs it up with a backhand pass all the way to the right point. One of the Knights almost blew a tire right there as they're down to 1:15 to go. Here's a centering pass right there, and it's in the back of the net, courtesy of Jonathan Marchessault. Boy, I said his name accidentally about 90 seconds ago. Apparently I'm clairvoyant, John. If you're back on the mic, let me know, my friend, because it is 2-1 Vegas, and that is what happens when you give the Golden Knights power play time, period.
I know this is a reference that might be quite old, but it's kind of like Eichel and Marchessault are like Kareem and Magic Johnson. They just know where they are on the ice. They're the left side dot. It's a sweet pass from Eichel and behind the cage. Gets near the left side dot right to the 5-hole Bobrovsky. And Jonathan Marchessault continues to drive the bus for the Golden Knights, his original tenured Golden Misfit. And, man, he's just driving it through cities right now.
Yeah, at this point, John, with Vegas taking the lead here and really starting to tighten their grip on this game in general, with now 5 minutes to go in the second, and the puck dropped at center ice after that goal. Now we're going to have to start talking about whether or not you're going to be around for what could be a clincher when you'll be at a wedding. But also, we got to talk about that Conn Smythe. It seems like a coin flip right now, based on Vegas being ahead of this series and ahead of the game. It seems like a coin flip between Hill and Marchessault. But we will talk about that when we next have a break. But tonight, John, let's talk about the numbers. 0 for 3 on the power play are the Panthers, but 2 for 4 at batting .500, which is pretty dang good. The Golden Knights have a couple of power play goals. That is accounted for both of their tallies as Aiden Hill makes a save, and we will have a face-off coming up.
You can let me know the stat that went across because I just missed it. But what I was going to say, I'd also throw in Jack Eichel as part of that too. they're all Vegas Golden Knights right now as far as the Conn Smythe. They're playing well.
Yeah, and Marchessault, the stat on the TNT side was he's only the third player in the last 35 years to score 3 times in the first 3 games of a Stanley Cup final. The other 2, Jake Gensel, not that long ago, and a little ways back, John, a golden era for a team that you care so deeply about, Stevie Y, the other to do that. So 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go here. What's up, guys? 4:20. And the second period, we have 16 shots for the Golden Knights, 10 for the Panthers, and we have a cover-up by Bobrovsky. And this is what, John, we have come to expect from Florida. They are now down in this game and immediately go to the extracurriculars as Gudas gets involved after the play.
That's not a good sign. That's the sign that things are going to go the other way. And as you talk about 2 goals for Vegas, both on the power play on that side, they're about almost 40% in the series alone, when they were less than 16% as far as a unit.
Yeah, this is very interesting. It's almost like we're watching things in slow motion, and it's the seesaw that's just tipping one direction. Vegas kind of looking a little bit more like they did in Game 1 when Florida came out looking solid. This is reminiscent of that Game 1. We said, oh, okay, wow, the Florida Panthers aren't that rusty. They look good. And then Vegas eventually just wore them down over the course of 60 minutes. No overtime necessary. They took care of business then. They took care of business in Game 2. They are starting pretty clearly here, John, to take care of business in Game 3. But there's a D-zone draw that's won by the Panthers, so that's a good start on this shift, at least, as they carry in. Going to go with the cross-ice pass just behind Tkachuk. Boy, he would have been set up for a nice slap shot, if not a wrister taking up some more space right there. But nothing doing as the Panthers try to get it out. But Vegas takes over. Now it's like a mini 3-on-1. The puck's loose, slides past Bobrovsky's area. That was just outside the crease, and it's held in by the Knights momentarily. Boy, Vegas really starting to push here. It is clearly moving one direction, John. We're going to have a lot to talk about when we get to our second full intermission. So the official stats there, Jonathan Marchessault with his 13th of the playoffs, assists to number 9, Jack Eichel, and number 61, Mr. Stone. And boy, that power play goal, John, is more for me about what was not happening. There was no attention being paid to Marchessault, who was in the near circle, right at the dot, and no one fully paying attention to Stone, who basically was a decoy and let that puck go right under his skate, allowed Marchessault to get the clean shot, and Bobrovsky was inadvertently then screened by his defenders who were right in front. He couldn't get the save made. So that's where we are. It's 2-1 Vegas. And I didn't mean to step over you with your analysis, but you can jump in right now, Jonathan. I think Florida's going to have a chance to tie this thing up. They're going to get their 4th power play on the night on an interference call going against the Golden Knights.
Alec Martinez is going to go to the box. What I was going to say is you're exactly correct. I understand that Jonathan Marchessault, Mark Stone, they're getting some of the soft areas and scoring. You're saying, how do they get that open? At the same time, I have to look on the outset, how are you not paying attention to the face-off circles?
Yeah, absolutely right. You know that's where the best scorers are going to sit. You know they want to either shoot from there or walk in from there or at least create opportunities from there. You got to just turn around, boys, because somebody is there, and it was Marchessault. He made no mistake when given the chance. But with 3:34 to go here in the second, John, boy, Florida needs a goal more than ever. And I'm going to rewind to when you said they must score. We didn't fully apply it to Florida's previous power play. I'm going to just go ahead and slap it on this one. They must score here. Got to change the momentum, change their fate here as they do some nice passing down low. There's a shot. Goes 5-hole, does Reinhart. He was right in the center of the slot. He shakes his head. Can't believe he didn't beat Aiden Hill, who closes the door.
The puck was just on the tip of his right blocker. It had a little more sauce on the one in front of the net. What I was going to say, it's the 3rd time I've seen them do this on the power play. Maybe mix that in because that was a great dangerous design. It's really hard to get those consistently. Maybe you'll have to get Montour a couple more bombs. He's already got one.
Yeah, Montour's looked great tonight. I think he's been the best Florida Panther. I will say that with full confidence. And yeah, credit right there to Reinhart. I know I've said his name so many times. I don't mean to just keep hitting replay on that, but Reinhart has been very visible this evening, in part just because he's been trusted by his head coach. And he gets the shot right on right there. And good note by you, John. That was not 5-hole. Reinhart did a good job to elevate right there and almost snuck that over the right path hill. But with 20 seconds gone here in Florida's fourth power play, the D-Stone faceoff is won by the Golden Knights, and they clear down where Montour picks up. Going to go with the back pass right here, and the power play drive will be set up through the neutral zone as the Florida Panthers skated in. It's left at the far half boards and now turned over. Here comes Vegas, and Florida has numbers back. And Bobrovsky will get the puck that slides toward his trapezoid with big paddle. Now Tkachuk has it, going to tap this one backward. Picked up there by, yes, Sam Reinhart. Boy, I got to keep a tally of how many times I've mentioned him. 1 minute and 5 seconds to go now in the power play. Just over 2.5 to go in the second. It's a 2-1 Vegas lead, courtesy of Marchessault, who scored on the power play minutes ago for Vegas. Now down low is Tkachuk. He likes to work from that near side, and he will drop it back off for Barkov. Barkov now with that stretch pass across. It's to Montour. Montour holds, goes to the far wall. 45 seconds to go in the power play. Sent back to Montour. Montour walks the blue line, going left to right, and we'll send it back down to Barkov, who stepped in. Now back to Montour. Looks for a pass back to Barkov. Barkov's going to go centering, and how was that not put in, John? Boy, cut in from the backside, Sam Bennett. That was just what we were talking about. He was tiptoeing in the circle behind everyone, and probably should have gotten a better shot on right there. 20 seconds to go, make that 15 seconds to go in the power play. There's a pass through the neutral zone by the Panthers that goes begging. Picked up right there by Pietrangelo. That one sent down to the near corner. Good job right there as he takes a pretty big hip check right there. But it's no worse for wear. He's so big that he just keeps on skating. And we'll head back to the bench. Now a turnover, John. It's going to be Stephenson along with Bobrovsky. Tries to go 5-hole, gets his own rebound. And it's covered up. Bobrovsky again keeping his team in this thing. How many times does he have to do it?
You just bailed out Sam Bennett right there. They couldn't score. I know Bennett was close. Vegas got a stick on the power play side. And Bobrovsky is single-handedly keeping his team in the game. They got to make sure now they don't give up a goal with about 1:20 left.
Boy, the coolness under pressure by Sergei Bobrovsky is so impressive to watch, John. We've seen a lot of his play now after having called these games. I know you've seen a ton of his play from having done previous broadcasts. I just never stop marveling at his fundamentals. I know that's not the sexiest thing to talk about, but he is so sound under pressure. It's impressive. So 1 minute, 15 seconds to go here in the second. 18 shots now for Vegas and 12 for the Panthers. That's probably not enough to get it done. They're going to need to at least double that as we continue this contest. 2-1 is the scoreline. Now 65 seconds to go in the middle stanza. Florida tries to take it in the neutral zone with Duclair, but the puck bounces to Vegas. They'll pass it along and take it up that right wing near the players' benches. Good job avoiding a check right there is Eichel. Boy, he's been good tonight. Surprise, surprise, he's been good all series long. Now a puck bounces off a Whitecloud stick. 45 seconds to go here as Vegas retreats into their own end. Good forecheck by Duclair, and a delayed penalty coming up, John. Is this going to be against Florida again? I believe it is. I'm looking for the touch-up. Florida does touch that puck. Going to be a slashing call. A stick was broken. And, John, if you can help me out, one of these Florida Panthers is going to the box. Bad news for the home squad.
Anton Lundell just broke the stick out of the hand of Ivan Barbashev. And we're going to get to the point in this narrative. At least I'll throw this out there now. Is Vegas just too big, too fast, and too strong? And Florida just can't stop committing penalties. I know that's a little bit unlucky one there, but that's a narrative that you got to talk about.
Yeah, no, we're absolutely going to have to discuss that. And I'm sure the gentlemen who've been with us throughout this broadcast have thoughts of their own. I bet we're all in agreement. Vegas just has too much to offer. And Florida has to continually take penalties just to keep themselves close within striking distance. Ironically, that will be the thing that then pushes them out of striking distance because you go on the penalty kill time and again as, Stephenson had a shot, bang, passing right there, going from high to low, back to the slot, and a shot attempt right there, I believe, was either off of the shoulder of Bobrovsky or just over the net. Either way, to finish my thought, you keep going on the PK for the Panthers, eventually Vegas will run away with this thing. So with the puck right now are the Knights. 12 seconds to go in the second period, 1.5 minutes to go in the power play. So unless they score, they will start the third on the man advantage. And a puck floated from the red line is turned aside by Hill, taken by the Knights. They see the clock, as do we. And it is the end, John, of the second period. 2-1 Vegas as we head back to the room. Lots to talk about, I know, so we'll get into it shortly. But man, oh man, John, it's the story of special teams tonight, don't you think?
It is. I mean, officially, let's look at the numbers here. It's 6 penalties for Florida, 5 for Vegas. I know one of those was offsetting. So if you want to go 5 and 4 on the other end, way too many for Florida. Again, I can give Vegas full marks as far as being the team that can keep getting them and drawing them, because it just seems like, as you just said, before the power play in the end of the second period, they just have too much to offer right now. And Florida just seems to be trying to essentially take 100-pound weight across their chest and drag it across the desert. You're going to run out of energy, and eventually you're not going to make it back home.
Yeah, you know what? I think you could, again, we just talked about sort of the broad idea of, any sport that has a penalty or a foul. Let's look NFL, let's look NBA, let's obviously look NHL. There's got to be something disheartening at a certain point when you think that you're just playing your game, right? Hey, I'm back checking. I'm going to play defense. Here's Ivan Barbashev. I want to make sure that he doesn't have a chance to get his stick in position. Oh, wait a second. I just slashed his stick in half. Now I'm sitting in the box. And you have to watch your team continue to struggle and fight its way out of these holes that you create for yourself. There's something disheartening about that when, Vegas is playing great, but when you're at 5-on-5, even if you're down a goal, maybe even 2 goals, there's still something about being on even ground. But being down a man time and time again, and then just having to get back to neutral before you can really give yourself a real chance to get back in the game and create opportunities, that's got to be tough to swallow.
Yeah, like you said, you're leading right into it, Cooper. He can't even get started, essentially.
Yeah, look, we're just echoing ourselves here, and I know these gentlemen feel the same way. Man, oh man, John, it's been the Bobrovsky show, but probably not because he wants it to be. I think if we had to poll goalies, I bet they would say, I really want to be the focal point of tonight's game. I'm sure they'd rather just take a break, have a squirt of water out of the Gatorade bottle, every time there's a stoppage, and have nothing else to do. But that's just not realistic when you're playing a team like the Golden Knights. And even though it's 2-1 and the Panthers are down, Sergei Bobrovsky deserves a massive tip of the cap for his effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand toward the right side of the glove when he brushed it back to the left side post and Howden almost scored. Obviously, he didn't mean to do that. But look, Bobrovsky, if he can make the margin about it, Carolina could even be at this mark, let alone Boston and things like that, because it was excruciating 4 one-goal games for them. But at least in the times when Bobrovsky was looking like a machine, and I think he's really kind of looked like that now. I know it's 2 goals against and 18 out of 20, but I don't think that tells the whole story. I think Vegas could easily be up by 3 more goals than this. But when Bobrovsky did look like that, it did allow Florida at some points to be able to create a counterattack in which they would score. Yes, it took some clutch goals from Tkachuk. Yes, it took the Bennett line, some other things. Sometimes we saw some things from Staal. But eventually, it let Florida enough comfortability to push the play the other way. So far within the first, let me get my math right, 8 periods in this series, I'm just not seeing that.
Yeah, neither am I. But what I am seeing is really great chemistry, especially between players and listen, sometimes they're not on the ice at the same time, but when they are, and really regardless of who's surrounding them, it's players that have been part of the Knights organization for an extended period of time that continue to be at the forefront for me, John, in terms of what I'm seeing, driving skill, driving play, leading by example, and we already know the names. It's Carlson, it's Stone, it's Marchessault.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now I know he's not an original tenured one, but those names, I'll even throw in Jack Eichel, because as far as the experience in between the Marchessault line, look, these guys are playing like McDavid and Draisaitl, but you also have the depth that Edmonton never has. And when you have that situation and you get some excellent goaltending from Adin Hill, he's made a couple good saves tonight, but I'm going to be quite frank on this one. Adin Hill's not been tested enough on that side, but when Vegas is playing this good and you have your 2 players playing like superstars like that, good luck to Florida to even try to get a game here.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It does not bode well that Florida only has 20 minutes to tie this thing up, because Vegas has just not allowed them to really get into a game flow over the course of any single period. Again, we talk about that first period of game 1. Now I'm looking at what's been very similar, what we just saw. The second period just ended of this game that we're watching and broadcasting tonight. Florida comes out, solid play, good team game, looks to be in control, if not in complete control, at least confident enough to keep Vegas at bay. But you know what? By the time that first period had ended in game one, Vegas was right in it. They scored. That's exactly what happened this second period, and we know the rest. We know the history. We saw the trajectory and how things went. And why, John, would we expect any different as TNT shows our power plays from this series? If Florida wants to make this game about special teams, every single game, Vegas has 2 power play goals. They've converted twice, game 1, game 2, game 3. And there are no power play goals for Florida. They are 0% in the Stanley Cup final.
6 for 13 is Vegas. That's just below 50%, and 0 for 11 are the Florida Panthers. And oh, by the way, the only goal of the second period on that side from Eichel to Marchessault, that was one of the prettiest looking sauce passes I've ever seen behind the net, and Marchessault wide open on that left dot to aim and fire and balance his checkbook.
Yeah, no question. I mean, that's the stuff that a superstar does. And Jack Eichel, again, leading by example. Not only does he carry the puck high and low, picks it up, moves with speed, moves with intent, and then sends it back across the grain. So, of course, yeah, are the defenders expecting a century pass or a deflection attempt? Of course. But is that a set play that Jack Eichel's aware of?
Yes.
Maybe it's a set play. Maybe it's improvisation. Either way, it's his execution. He has the confidence and ability to do that. And Marchessault, again, you and I both remain completely shocked that at least one Florida Panther wouldn't be checking or aware of Jonathan Marchessault's location on the ice. And when those things combine, guess what? It's vinegar and baking soda. Something's going to erupt. It's going to be Vegas for a goal. And that's what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. In Florida, and Cooper, as we said, for Marchessault, he was on Florida. You think you know the spots where he likes to score?
Yeah, you know what? And I'm sure Bobrovsky in practices and warm-ups, I'm sure he's well aware that Marchessault was going to be set up there, or he at least likes to fire from there. But Bob can't do it all. You know, he's got his mask on, he's got his pads on. He can't go out there and check the guy. He's got to stay in the crease and do his job. Unfortunately, the skaters in front of him, a lapse in focus right there, and the result is 2-1. By no means are we saying Florida can't come back into this thing, but listen, they scored one early when they were playing really, really well. And they were in the first period, but things have been trending the other way pretty much, John, ever since.
And the YouTube side of it, 10 votes. Thank you for everybody. I said, does Florida win game 3 tonight? 60-40. You guys say no on that end. I'm going to get into a little bit of the topic in the second intermission because we'll have enough time to do so. And this started because I think about somebody leaving on that side for the St. Louis broadcast. He does a lot of TNT national games, and you've seen him here today. Darren Pang is going to sign his contract for the NBC Universal side. He's going to join the Chicago Blackhawks broadcast as far as the Athletic. And as far as ranking broadcasts that they do, Blackhawks are ranked 32 out of 32. Darren Pang is going to do a lot to bring his objectivity and knowledge to the Chicago Blackhawks because he didn't play goal for the Blackhawks way back when.
Yeah, that's a great note, John. I mean, obviously we're here broadcasting the game on Twitter Spaces, and hey, no, it's not NBC, but we still try to bring some entertainment, bring some interest to what we do on the mic. And Darren Pang's been doing that for a long, long time. And I actually kind of like this trend of nationally known broadcast talent deciding to go to local markets. And I'm sure Pang will still contribute on a broad level to nationally broadcast events and games, but going to the market with the Blackhawks, and listen, maybe he's a smart guy because who's going to be there soon? The number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
We all know who that is. So why not go call some games that feature one of the greatest hockey talents to come along in the last 15 years minimum or so. But I also like that even Eddie Olczyk, who's on this broadcast up in the booth, not on the TNT desk side, but Eddie Olczyk now officially part of the Seattle Kraken broadcast team with John Forslund, and that team. I guess I'm not going to brag because we know my favorite team's the Flames, but by association, that same broadcast team ranking, number 1 team, John, the Seattle Kraken.
Absolutely on that side. And again, I'm not just saying that because we enjoy it. I honestly do believe that ranking is very fitting. Why do I bring all this stuff up in the second intermission? It's going to be a little bit of bad news, depending on where you live and what teams you cover. For Cooper, it's not going to be so bad, but for a lot of us, it will be on this side. So Gary Bettman, he got his presser. I know the season's not over. We're in the playoffs, but they talk about the state of the league and the regular season and everything else that's going on. Here's a concept of team coverage. So for me, this is officially bad on this side. When you think about Bally Sports, right? We know about the regional sports group. I'll talk about some of the other ones, but they're owned by Diamond Sports Group. We talked about, or at least I did mention a little bit in subjectivity, bankruptcy allegations on that side. They didn't even know if they were going to complete the baseball contracts, but for Bally, that's also part of the big major 4 sports teams. I know football, some things outside, but work with me on that. At least 3 out of the 4 major sports owned by Bally for a while. So let's go on to the teams that are not, and I'll get to this quickly. I did this off the top of my head, so maybe this will just tell me how much of a sycophant I am. But for Rogers and Sportsnet, these are your Canadian teams. Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. So those will all stay the same in Canada. For MSG or Plus, those are your New York squads, New Jersey, New York Rangers, Islanders, Buffalo Sabres. Nesson has their own network with Jack Edwards and the Boston Bruins, but again, I think that's one of the worst ones, but I'll digress. ATT route in Rocky Mountain West, that's occupied by Pittsburgh, Vegas, and Seattle. NBC Universal is Washington, Philadelphia, Chicago, San Jose, and the Colorado Avalanche have their own sports side of it for Altitude TV for the Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets. But what does that leave for the rest? That's the other 12 teams, because you got 32 teams in the league. Tampa Bay, Florida, Detroit, Carolina, Columbus, Dallas, Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, Arizona, LA, and Anaheim. Gary Bettman openly said it's not looking good, and we will see if we can get our local coverage within our context. And I always like to broadcast myself as someone that tries to get all of the homework done, be knowledgeable, be friendly, and all of that. I'll be honest, you take the Red Wings off TV, I'm going to be very angry and turn to the Incredible Hulk, little Mark Ferrigno.
Yeah, I would. You know what, John? You're so diligent. You're so thorough. I would not like to see what happens if you're doing your research on how to get revenge on someone. That's that would be pretty frightening. And you know what? There would be some revenge that would be deserved if the sports coverage continues to waver as it has been. It's so strange that we're moving into a time like this. I don't want to sound grandiose or poetic, but it's such a fabric of this country. It's a part of our daily lives.
Right.
I mean, even for folks who aren't necessarily fans of the NHL, I think the understanding and awareness that the Stanley Cup Final is happening right now, just even the basic knowledge of that comes down to media coverage, and a lot of that, of course, obviously comes down to TV coverage and having folks that are knowledgeable and consistent and professional covering these teams that we care about so much. To think that that's in jeopardy, I'm not even sure if I have some sort of really fascinating or intelligent piece to add to this, other than just to say that it's surprising and disappointing. And I know that the leagues themselves will not allow their teams to not be broadcasted. We're starting to see this in Major League Baseball now. It actually takes me all the way back to, and the issues are still going on, but we think about the Coyotes just as a franchise in the NHL. Obviously, the NHL was technically the owner of its own team.
Yes.
As opposed to being privately owned, as every other sports franchise is. And they worked through that situation, which was very awkward and odd. And so I hope that, I hope a scenario like that doesn't happen with regional coverage and broadcast partners of the NHL and other leagues. But if it does, I do think that there will probably be some contingency in place to make sure that, no, I don't think that the Red Wings or any other team will go dark. But yeah, it's odd that we even have to have the discussion, don't you think?
It is. And again, this isn't even just centrifuged as far as hockey. This is across all 4 major sports networks. And again, I'll just throw my 2 cents out there. As far as some of the NHL packages and everything in the United States, again, I can't speak for Rogers and Sportsnet because they pay a lot more money in Canada. But for the United States side of it, ever since the NHL broadcast went to ESPN Plus, I can get all the games I want for essentially like $120 a year. And that's a lot cheaper than some other NHL packages or anything else, not to mention T-Mobile free baseball on that side of it. But the NHL package in particular is way cheaper on that side. And again, the only teams that would essentially be hurt are any of the Canadian squads. But there really is no situation that's going to be a be-all, end-all. It's a TV contract situations are different for every single team. So I just hope that you guys aren't hurting out there. And if you're sports fans like all of us are, just hold your breath and hope that that situation works out, because that's not fun for anyone.
Yeah, you said it, and you know what? Credit to you for caring enough to bring that up. And it's not always the first topic on anyone's mind, because I think we're all so accustomed. And it's one of those things that we do take for granted, that these businesses that run the broadcasts and coverage of the teams we care about, that they're just there. And you know what? Hey, we might have opinions. We might not love, I don't love this play-by-play broadcaster. Or why does this studio analyst, their voice drives me crazy. Sure, we can complain, but you know what? They're there. They're there. Companies that employ them are there.
Mm-hmm.
The resources necessary to broadcast the games, they are there. And if those things are in jeopardy, yeah, that's a strange thing to think about. And hopefully we'll move to a future where we get back to a place where it's more steady and we can rely on it.
I mean, hey, let's just be honest. Doing things like this right now, we're all just proponent broadcasters that are trying to do something else or do something that we love. I mean, these avenues are always open, but if those jobs are gone, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? If things really start to falter, John, we'll just take over. We'll get Alec and Sean and John, the boy. I'll jump in. You know what? We'll do it ourselves. That's what we're doing right now. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be good with all that, because, again, I'll just be honest with you. And I do these games because I love it. But honestly, I know Cooper and I covered a lot of Flames games and starting to get some of the Seattle stuff because of Matty Beniers and all. But honestly, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I really enjoyed covering those teams. Hell, I felt like an honorary beat writer between the Flames and the Kraken on that end. So I'll definitely know where my bread is buttered if I can't watch the Red Wings next season. I imagine things will work itself out. We'll see who buys who as far as the Valley Sports side. But I will say this just in closing, because it used to be Fox Sports for a lot of that before I went to Valley. And then when Fox Sports said, no, we're not renewing the contract, I did get a little bit of a lump in my throat, because I figured things were going to get rough, because, I mean, you got like Roku, you got Apple, you got all these other things. You got Peacock now for baseball. So many other companies are trying to get a piece of the pie. So it's war out there.
Yeah, it certainly is. And obviously we'll see how it all shakes out. But call me the eternal optimist. I do think, I mean, listen, the business model is changing. Obviously numbers change from year to year, and, things are trending differently. Not to be this guy, but I'm not in the generation, so I'm observing it as an old head, as they would call me. But Gen Z now starting to get a little bit older and being, a very important piece of the market. And how do they consume sports? What sports are they interested in? How do they want to watch games or attend games or experience games? That's a question that's being answered too by all these companies. So lots goes into it, but the optimistic piece of me says there will always be a solution. It's just too compelling. There's too much intrigue to turn off the lights on any teams.
We will see what happens on that end. So we're going to be in the third period here. If I take this broadcast, you might see me melt down in real time if you want that, but I can jump onto it, Cooper.
Yep, go ahead, my friend. The third period. Listen, the first period when you called it was a good one for the Panthers, so let's hope it's the same for them this time around with you on the call.
So 50 seconds left to go in the Vegas power play. And again, I will call this to the best of my ability, as always, on that side. Vegas, the first team since the 1980 Islanders with 2 power play goals in 3 consecutive games. Worked out pretty well for the Islanders in the 80s as far as winning some cups. This is sent back around now for Vegas. And they have it. Jonathan Marchessault has got the game-winning goal right now as this one gets blocked. And Bennett able to flip this one out. Again, Florida, I'm just going to say this honestly. They've got to play like this is Game 7 and this is finito on their season. Because if they don't, I mean, it's done. It's not like they're not trying to, but stay out of the box however you can for 20 minutes and maybe try to extend this as much as you can. I don't think Vegas is going to concede one, but Florida has only got to get one. That's what they got to look at it right now. Pietrangelo, as the time's winding down, loose out in front, and what a stop by Bobrovsky as the towels wave. Florida gets this down. It's an opportunity for Lindell right out of the box, and Sergei Bobrovsky was looking like the big cat as it's sent back around from Bennett, and this one goes just wide. Lindell, he's on it now. Send it out for Bennett, and this gets brushed aside. Florida's got it. They'll shoot through the traffic. No one behind the net. Aiden Hill falls on it and finds it.
Boy, John, more of the same. We're not even 2 minutes into this thing. And the biggest reason the Panthers fans had to cheer was another glorious Sergei Bobrovsky save. What a shocker.
It doesn't surprise us in any stretch of the imagination. It hit him up under the right shoulder blade, just able to get a piece of it. And Sergei's got to be begging his team to play this on the other end for once, just for 20 minutes.
Yeah, no question. I think that I know he's not the most vocal, but if he wants to speak up, now's the time. It's got to be, come on, guys. You can't just let me do it all. You got to fight on the other end and try to get one back as well.
Stone and Whitecloud, as this will be played across. The captaincy has got it now. He'll flip it down across the Panthers logo. Bobrovsky will reach up to stop it. We'll chip this off the right side of the kick play. This is going to work out for Florida. Gain the rush and try to play it in between the legs rather than shoot it. I think even at least for Florida, if I had my druthers on that side, I'm Paul Maurice. I'm firing pucks at the net right now. I'm just trying to test Aiden Hill because he hasn't had much to do. As this is played and the pass goes wide, and this will be dumped in again. Vegas is going to be no stranger to go ahead and kill time. They already got a 2-0 series lead right now, and they could absolutely shut the door on Saturday and finish this off in a sweep. This will be all business-like and no starstruck as far as 2018. Tkachuk has it now, walking into a slap shot, and that was bombed high. Wonder if that was Montour as Verhage to put out the window. That was Staal.
Yeah, John, good to see you right there, and I actually agree with your advice, I'll call it, for the Florida Panthers. Guess what, boys? Time to shoot. And that was a good job right there for them just to get one on. It was from a distance out, but there was traffic in front. Staal puts one in the area, and that's what we need to see from Florida right now.
We're getting some really cool shots. The Tkachuk boys and all that, getting all the other stuff in between St. Louis and Florida. I love all that stuff as you get to see Keith there at TNT. It's always good to see it. And this is sent back around the end boards now. Whitecloud will play this in behind the net. See if Florida can try to force some turnovers here and just get something. They throw it to Aiden Hill, and this will be picked up by Vegas. It's a late arriving 3-on-2, but Bruce Cassidy's squad will just dump this in the right side of the red line as Nick Waugh gets taken away from the puck. Keaton Kolsar will send this in deep as Waugh's got it. Open off the backhand. Vegas will be content to throw this deep. Pietrangelo, good save by Bobrovsky as it hit him up high. And now this works in behind the net, and Florida just brushed a stick away. Tkachuk trying to idle and stay on sides, but this is turned over here. And now Pietrangelo has got the puck for Vegas again. They are just not even a full period away from taking a 3-0 series lead. And at this point, you have to think sweep. There's going to be nothing else that Florida can show you that can kind of change it. There's a slap shot in off the boards, and that one goes wide and out of play.
Yeah, so this is, John, absolutely crunch time already, and we still have about 16 minutes to go in the third. I will say the first 4 minutes of this third period feels like they have flown by. And so if that's going to be the way this third goes, it's all the more pressure on Florida to try to get the job done on the offensive side. Yeah,
it certainly feels that way. It really does feel like a flight right now, and that's where Vegas is, especially if you're Marchessault, Barbashev, Stone, Hill, anybody out there right now. It just seems to work. They're just rolling sevens all day long at the craps table. They're going to be looking to send the cup back to T-Mobile Arena, no doubt about it. As Bobrovsky pick it back up. And Forsling now will play this around the end boards, but it's intercepted by Vegas. A late arriving Aaron Ekblad will just stick it away from the defensive zone as Lundberg will get this one as it was bounced out of the air, but Vegas will quickly fall back onto it. It's Marchessault for Eichel. Always got to watch out for Jack. You know, he has the complete 200-foot game he never had in Buffalo, so he's extremely dangerous. Eichel now, glove saved by Bobrovsky. As this put around the right side, Nick Cousins off the long flip. Looks to be a chase. He recollected now for Lundberg as he's just trying to get around McNabb. Able to buy enough time was Lundberg, but Vegas is right there. Again, their due diligence on defense is wonderful. Anytime the puck is in a possession, they're in the right spot to take it quickly and transition the other way. Bruce Cassidy, that's got to be the easiest slam dunk head coach hire you could ever get. As this is sent back around up for Amadio. Near the right side, Racco Gudis. It falls to Bobrovsky, and he holds on.
Yeah, a bit of a nervy moment right there as the puck was floated back down to the near corner, and then you saw Amadio move it along right there. Gudis with his check down at the end boards. Puck slides out in front. Bobrovsky, again, he is just super aware tonight. He's had an absolutely fantastic game. It's almost a tear-jerking moment to have to say that his team is down 2-1 in this thing. Bobrovsky's played so well.
Yeah, on that side, it's going to be shedding a few tears if we do get in the post-game for me, and the result speaks for itself. I will leave a couple post-game comments just in case, as this is picked up now near the right side boards. Heavily contested now. Stone almost had a bid right in front of the net, but it's taken away. Carter Verhaeghe now with the flip, just trying to stay with this, and Florida just trying to make something happen. It's Bennett now, near the left side of the red line. Recollect as it goes to Staal. Here's a shot to the traffic. It's saved by Aiden Hill, but it's one rebound, and that's it. And that's all. That's been the story there for Vegas. There is not a lot of chances to be had. If you don't get it right away, it goes the other way. Stone off the steal. A 3-on-2 combination play for Stephenson, broken up. Carter Verhaeghe now with Tkachuk. Will drop it for Verhaeghe. Tries to throw it back to Matthew. Picks it up off the forehand, still with it. He centered it near the high slot. Here's a chance. It was blocker decided by Aiden Hill near the left side down now for Carter Verhaeghe. Verhaeghe will intentionally pinball this thing, walk into a slap shot, and that one bit one of the Golden Knights as Florida. This will fall into a high slot, but Stone will find it first, and then a good steal by Stone. Who says he can't skate? I never understood that transition and about not looking beautiful. He just seems to be in the right spots, getting steals, scoring goals, and doing everything. Rocco Gudis. He'll make an outstretched pass in across the red line. A touch pass goes a little bit too far for the Panthers. Yeah, you got to keep in mind, as Cooper said, about that score clock. 13:45 left to go in the third. Vegas got a 21-16 shot advantage as Pietrangelo will put this around the end boards now for Ekblad. Martinez. This will fall right to him. And Bobrovsky makes the save from distance.
Yeah, another good stop right there. Obviously, that was not one of the highlight reel variety, but Bobrovsky called it to action yet again. Sees it with the biggest goal night on the doorstep there. Couldn't get a number, but there was somebody crashing down low. So good focus yet again. I mean, it's the same story. Big number 72 in red in the crease looks excellent as we hit the break, John. But yeah, this third period flying by. 13:38 to go, which seems like a lot of time, but the Florida Panthers have needed lots of time just to get themselves going and get not only scoring opportunities, but to put anything behind Aiden Hill. That seems like a bit of a far cry right now.
And you can't say if you're Florida, give me some power play opportunities. Well, he had 4, he didn't score. Vegas had 5 and scored 2. So if you're looking for more calls to be made, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I think we might get a free-flowing third period.
Yeah, this could be the kind of situation where enough whistles have been blown. I think the refs might swallow those whistles here in the third unless we see something egregious. You pointed it out earlier, John. It's been more like regular season penalty calls. And you might see when the stakes are even higher, not that they weren't the first 2 periods, but when they're at their highest, the third period of Game 3, where Vegas could take a commanding, almost insurmountable 3-0 lead in the series. Yeah, I think the Zebras might choose to breathe easy and not be as nitpicky when it comes to making those calls. So good prediction by you. That's what I'm expecting. And Florida, they're going to have to do it at even strength, I would imagine.
They're going to have to. And here's an interesting point. Maybe this speaks to Paul Maurice, who said, kind of tone down some of the hitting, still do it, but do it smartly. Well, the hits are 14-7 for Vegas with 13:30 left to go in the third. But the one thing for Florida that continues to be the story, giveaways, you don't want to lead in that category. Well, the Panthers lead 17-5.
Ouch times 2. And those hit stats, John, that tells me that Florida changed their strategy. Okay, hey, boys, it's all right. We're going to be physical, but we're going to do it less and less because we have to put a premium on scoring opportunities. Well, they've toned down the hitting. Have the scoring opportunities increased, John? Not necessarily, and that's why they're down 2-1.
Absolutely. Face-off win near the right side dot as this is contested. Now set up in front, and what a right pad save by Bobrovsky as he continues to close the door as much as he can. My goodness. And now Vegas will look to start the other way. He's the only one giving me hope right now. I think even for Florida Panthers fans at Duclair Live Arena, they'd feel the same. As this is near the right side dot. Amadio, he's trying to get it. Staal's just trying to fall on it. William Karlsson as this gets flipped out in front, and now Florida's got to get this going the other way. It's been free flowing, but it feels like Vegas has all the chances. Staal, he almost got dispossessed a couple times, and now this would be an opportunity for Reinhardt, but Barbashev is right there. Near the right side blue line. As this is sent back toward the left side red line. Here's a flip pass out in front, and a penalty hand, I believe, is in the air. And this is going to go against the Vegas Golden Knights for a hook. Florida's got to score now, and this could be Jack Eichel.
Wow, John, what a major, major development. Yeah, you saw that hand go right up in the air. The referee had a clear look at it in the far corner to the left of Aiden Hill. Yep, hooking will be the call, and shows how much we know. I guess they won't swallow the whistles, huh? But that was pretty clean.
Yeah.
Excuse me, clear. Had to have been called there. Eichel frustrated, but it's the right choice by the referees. And John, this is the moment. This is the time. Florida, absolutely. We've already said it twice. So the third time's the charm, and if they can't find the charm here, they won't find it. They must tie this hockey game.
And again, I try to be as professional, as neutral as possible, but whatever deity you got to pray to, please do that for me on that side, because I do want to get to a Game 5. I want to call a cup final, as this is sent the other way for Hagee. And this is high, but picked up now for Barkov. It's Tkachuk. He tried to play it off the back of Aiden Hill, but this was brushed with the right pad. Matthews got it now. And toward the right side, they're denying him the center of the net, where he did a lot of damage against the Canes. And now he turns it right over to Nick Waugh. It's a 2-on-1 maybe for Vegas. Long shot. This one goes wide. And now Verhaeghe can look to start again in the home Reds. Drop for Tkachuk. Tkachuk now. Give it to the late arriving Montour. I'd like to see him pop another one. Here he does now. Fans on it completely. And this one gets sent down. My goodness. So Bobrovsky will touch it. Montour will pick it up. 1:10 left to go in the Florida power play. I'm trying not to fall apart all over myself. 23-15. Again, I gave full marks in conference to the Colorado Avalanche last year. I absolutely enjoyed that one. I'm just waiting for the intrigue. We know we got a little bit in this game at least. This has been the closest game that we've had. The other two have been absolute slobber knockers, to use a wrestling term. Let's go Stout Forsling now for Bennett. And across the Panthers logo, he'll drop it near the right side dot. It's Tkachuk. Power play line numero uno has been out there for a long time every time they've been out there. Tkachuk off the side of the net as it's picked up by Barkov. Need to get Barkov on the score sheet. Forsling with a blast. This goes in behind the cage. Barkov will try to locate it. Send this back to D. Bennett walks in and fires. Expertly blocked there by Vegas. Here's a sauce pass out of the air. Bennett settled it down for Forsling. Now near the left side dot. Back to Gustav. Fake the pass. Bennett with a chance. Swallowed up by Hill.
John, this is literal hold my breath moment stuff right here. I realized as you finished your commentary, I was holding my breath. It's very literally happening. That's really all I can add. This has just been an incredible sequence for Vegas. They are now facing, I think, the best that Florida has to offer. Just a few seconds left in this power play. If Vegas can get out of this PK, John, look out. They may wrap this thing up for good.
Here's a face-off win for Florida, but it's in behind the net of Aiden Hill. They'll get to us near the right side boards, just hold it in, and now work in behind the net. That's what Florida likes to do, but a lot of their stuff looks a lot of the same. Get some traffic, get some shots. Here's a chance. Saved by Hill. Near the left side of the red line now, still in behind the net for the Panthers as Vegas has killed it. They'll flip it down. Eichel's back out on the ice, and he's fresh. Here's a drop from Stone for Jack. Centered in for Stone, and Bobrovsky will find it and hold.
Yeah, once again, Bobrovsky answers. Again, doesn't need to be a 10 bell right there, but he does the job. And another offer on the power play for Florida. I think that's going to be not only the story of this game, John, but the story of the series. Every second that ticks by, Vegas getting closer to really putting their foot on the throat of the Panthers and that 3-0 series lead.
And they showed one good work there by TNT camera crew on that side. McNabb got a piece of the Bennett chance. There was traffic out in front. Tkachuk was providing the screen, but they stopped the chance before it ever got there. Jack Eichel might get brushed out of the face-off circles. They're showing Bobrovsky giving a couple stick taps to the left side of the post. What hasn't he done right now? I know it's 22 out of 24. It doesn't sound like a lot. But honestly, we can't help but say, if it wasn't for Bobrovsky right now, this would be a lot worse. The Zebras are doing a little skate cleanup job near the left side of the crease. That's why we get a temporary stop.
Yeah, John, what can we say here? Again, this feeling for me that the third period clock has been moving faster than the other periods clocks. We're down to just under 10:30 to go in the third. Another power play opportunity missed by the Panthers. And they only have 16 shots on goal in the game. That's not going to do it. Vegas now up to 24. This is just down to the numbers, John. Florida has to do something basically unprecedented in this series if they want to tie this thing, let alone get the W.
Yeah, and essentially what they have to do is take Vegas out of that shell somehow. That once they're not in a shell, but what I'm saying is when the shot gets blocked out in front, there's always a player there to be able to clean up the mess, and they never get out of position. Florida's got to be dangerous enough to make the defense move, force Aiden Hill to be caught wide open, maybe put some in front of the net. But right now, Vegas has never had to do that.
That's true, and this is completely off topic, but I love seeing random jerseys in the crowd. I just saw a Florida Panthers fan wearing a Scott Mellenby jersey, so big thumbs up to that fan.
Know all that too well on that side. Again, for the Florida Panthers, they made the Stanley Cup Finals in 1996. They had the tradition of throwing the rats out on the ice. Colorado Avalanche upended them on that end. And I would wonder, again, part of me might hate to throw the Vegas Golden Knights in that same structure, but you do have to give them all the credit in the world because they might be getting a sweep.
Oh yeah, John. No, there are no two ways around it here. Like we said, I mean, this is like standard sports narrative stuff, right? But it applies here, and when it applies, you got to call it out. Every second that goes by, every second that Florida remains behind 2-1 in this contest, literally what is happening is that Vegas is closing in on an insurmountable 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I mean, there really is. If we're being completely honest, can Florida get to a game 5? Possibly, but I don't see a situation where once they get to a game 5, I think they'll get housed at T-Mobile the way this is going.
Yeah, and this is the first time, John, when I brought up the rosters for tonight's game and the stats just on my side, on my laptop, to have it ready to go for our analysis play-by-play. And I'm not just saying this because of the circumstances. It really stood out for me visually the first time as I looked at the Vegas Golden Knights at Florida Panthers, and next to their team names were their ranks in the playoffs. And next to the Panthers, you have WC2, and next to the Vegas Golden Knights, you have the number 1. And I think we might just be watching a situation, John, where one team is flat out better than the other, and the magic is run out for Florida.
Could very well be the case. You're going to need a bounce. That is hockey. Barkov put one out in front, but Vegas was right there to clean up the mess as Marchessault almost had a house call the other way. And again, that speaks to Vegas being right there to when they need to help out Aiden Hill. Now, Racco Gudas lost his helmet. He wants a piece of somebody, but as Cooper and I called, you got to cut that stuff out right now. You only got 9:23 left.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not what you need. You know what? You can send whatever message you want to send. That's fine. But Vegas doesn't give a you-know-what.
No.
Because the only message they care about are the numbers. And the numbers right now are, hey, we are minutes away from that 3-0 series lead. You can check me. You can hook me. You can hold me after the play. You can slash me. I don't care because we're about to lift the most prestigious trophy in professional sports.
And I know I talked about it a little bit in the Stanley Cup preview show. I know Alec did all that wonderful work as well on that side. And again, it wasn't an afterthought when I said Vegas would be one of those teams that wouldn't be pushed around. But who knew that it would be so soon, right from game 1 on that side when you saw Nick Hague when he was getting punched and face washed by Tkachuk and Bennett. And I will remember that smile on Hague's face. He's like, you know what? I really want to punch you in the face right now, but I'm not going to retaliate because we know what our goal is. That's lifting Lord Stanley's Cup. And I'll give Vegas full marks. They've been on the front foot of this the whole way. Yeah, they've played physical too, but they're not going to allow themselves to be falling right into that trap.
No, I mean, that's such a great visual. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's Hague smiling, and that smile is a knowing smile. It's one that tells me, I know you're you're behaving this way. I know you're face washing me, throwing glove punches in my face right now. I know that's happening because we're better than you.
Yeah.
We're beating you in this game. We're going to beat you in this series. I think we both know that, and you're reacting because of it. And that's what I feel when I watch what's happening right now with Gudas. Listen, I know you're trying to be strong for your teammates. It's the game of hockey. Obviously, if you take issue with something, there are ways to handle it. It's going to usually be through physicality. But when it comes to a Stanley Cup final, John, it just starts to scream of, hey, you might be better than us, but you're not tougher than us. But when we're trying to lift a cup, it doesn't matter. The team that's better, the team that gets the job done and gets the wins, that's the team that goes down in history.
Absolutely. That's all about wins. Just win, baby. A little bit of Al Davis there on that side. I think it's Barbashev and Gudas will be in the box. So we're going to get an offsetting here. It'll be 9:15 left to go in the third. It'll be Brandon Montour. It's open ice. And again, if there's anything that Florida can cling to, you got to do so now. You got less defenders for Vegas to worry about in front of the net. I know it's the same on the other side. Give yourself some sort of silver lining. Shoot the puck and get it at the net. I hate to repeat my narrative, but I'm just not seeing enough of it. I'm seeing the working behind the net and getting it stolen. Barkov near the right side dot now as Carter Verhaeghe tries to get on this. Montour was pinching out just to force some type of steal. But this is easily picked up by Whitecloud. He's already got a goal in this series. But again, it's 9 different players that had 12 goals already to start. But again, you got Marchessault with the go-ahead one right now. One of the original tenured Golden Knights has got it. Glenn Carlson off the backhand. And they'll just put this near the right side dot. This will be calmly played back by Vegas. They're not going to care about killing some time right now. Entry right down the middle for Stephenson. And that was blocked aside there by Bobrovsky. Chandler Stephenson's been all around it. And Pietrangelo will take his sweet time again. 8:10 left to go in the third. John here alongside Cooper Hopkins. I don't know how happy I'm going to be at the end of this. Again, I don't care who wins. I just wanted to see it extended so I can call a game 5. Maybe not, though. As this is picked up, here's a cross pass for a cutting Pietrangelo. And now Duclair with a sauce. This will be picked up from behind. And now Forsling. It's 1-on-3. Forsling needs some reinforcements. He'll throw it near the right side of the boards, try to find Duclair. But all he found was the Vegas Golden Knight. 2-on-1 essentially. And Stone. This will go too far for him, as Florida will get a chance to collect. You got to find something here. Aaron Ekblad just throws it right to Vegas, and they'll settle this back up and behind their own net. Essentially, this 4-on-4 has been a keep away. Here's Eichel near the right side. This one goes in behind the cage of Bobrovsky and picked up now by Florida. So back to even strength for what it's worth, and this is a full entry here for Florida. They'll fire it right on, and this one is out of play from Mahura.
Yeah, John, the main focus of this period for me continues to be just that. Boy, oh boy, 7 minutes or so left. A little bit of change there, seven and a quarter. Does not feel like a lot at all. Frankly, does not feel like enough for Florida to get anything done here.
Cooper and everyone else that's listening in between Ian and Alec, I feel like you could give Florida 3 more periods and the scoreline wouldn't change the way that this is going.
Yeah. You know what? That's not even that bold of a statement. The way Vegas is playing, they completely justify you having that opinion. Yeah, you're right. You can give a couple of overtime periods. Sure. Let's go to overtime 2-1, boys. You can keep you keep putting us in headlocks and pulling on our helmets and face washing us. Guess what? We're still going to win. That's Vegas' mentality right now.
Bennett, this one goes too far. And again, the time is the concern. I know what it is in the series. It could be a 3-0. Teams that have taken a 3-0 lead have won 27 out of 28. I know way back in the original 6 days, there was a 3-0 comeback on that side, but I don't quite remember if it was the Red Wings or not. As it was Bennett toward the right side. It's turned over. It's a 1-on-2, and Florida late arriving trying to pick this up, but it's Vegas. And behind the cage now, leaving it toward the right side of the blue line. This is intercepted. Here's a touch pass. Matthew Tkachuk could be a good time for something, but he is quadruple teamed. He can't get the shot off, and it's put up into the crowd.
Yeah, John, this is one of those times, if it were one of our regular season calls, I know I might ask, okay, who might be the hero for the Florida Panthers? Who do you think might get that game-tying goal? And, if it's for Vegas, who do you think is going to put this game away, make it 3-1, and put it out of reach? To be honest, the way this thing's going, I don't think we're going to see the scoreline change. That's all I have to say.
No, not unless Aiden Hill slips out on a banana peel and there's a catastrophic play in behind their own net. I don't see it either. I think we're looking at the final scoreline. 6:15 left to go in this third. As it's Mahura, will send this one deep. Paul Maurice puts his fourth line out there right now. They're just trying to find something to jumpstart with the sticks on the fire. 2-1 is still the score. Vegas has the entry now. 24 shots on goal to 17. Again, it doesn't really matter right now for Vegas. They're just killing time. This is picked up off the backhand. Florida's got it near the right side red line, and they'll chip it in. And now Pietrangelo will go ahead and make a play as he puts this around the inboards. 5:40 left to go in this third. Florida needs a goal. They threw the pass right to Alec Martinez. As Lomberg tried to get a piece of it, Riley Smith, first time I've called his name, he chips it out. Florida now with an outstretched pass. Here's Gustav Forsling. Will do the same near the right side dot. As this is recollected by the Panthers, try to get centered out in front, but a Vegas body was there. This put around the end boards now. High in the slot. This is deflected. And around the net, Florida with it. Anthony Duclair able to keep it alive as Reinhardt was taken down. Forsling with a chance, expertly blocked by Vegas. And now an on-man rush could go the other way, but Vegas will make the smart play as they'll clear it in. Bobrovsky tried to stop it, but this bounced away from him. But here's a chance now for Florida. Barkov off the backhand. He'll shovel it in behind the net. Barkov still trying to keep this alive as we're underneath 5 minutes now. Vegas is on the verge of taking a 3-0 series lead against the Florida Panthers. They have iced it.
Yeah, John. So the question becomes here, let's just break it down with, now under 5. How many shifts are we talking about for the Florida Panthers? 6 shifts maximum? That doesn't sound like a lot of hockey, does it?
No, it doesn't. And again, let's say you're Paul Maurice. You call a timeout, put your top line out there. Who's your top line?
Great question. Yeah, you've made a good point about the fourth line getting out there. Just anybody, please do something. And I don't care how much you're getting paid or where you are on the roster.
Right.
Please tie this game.
You're grasping at straws right now. Bobrovsky, again, I'm going to give him. I know Vegas, they might get all 3 stars, but I'll definitely give Bobrovsky 1. He's been the only one here that's kind of showed up. Marchessault, kill chance off the post. Oh my goodness, it goes out of play.
Wow, John, so this is one of those scenarios where I'm going to see this a few seconds after you make the call, but based on your tone of voice, it sounds like a glorious opportunity as Marchessault goes across to, I think, Barbashev. Did he take the shot there? And he looks skyward. He could have dealt a death blow right there. It was just an inch away.
Well, if everybody's trying to give me a heart attack, you're going to do that right now as Barbashev goes off the left side of the pipe as we go to break.
Oh, what a beautiful shot. Bobrovsky trying to move across to get his body in front. Was just too late to get there. Barbashev had the top corner picked, and he rings it off the crossbar. Boy, and I'm not kidding, I think between both teams, we're closing out on about 10 crossbars and posts hit tonight. So we could have a very different scoreline, but it remains low scoring. Still 2-1 Vegas as we hit the commercials, John. You know what? This isn't something I should admit because we're supposed to be the broadcasters tonight. I don't know what else to say. I think we are watching a foregone conclusion here. We've basically alluded to that. I other than, like you said, something completely comical and like almost like a circus, Aiden Hill, cue the clown car music. It would have to be something like comedic for him to give up a bad one, or absolutely just a miracle of a pinball shot off legs in front, maybe beats Hill. I mean, that's what it's going to take, I think, and that's just to tie.
And you know what I think, in all honesty, the professional broadcasters, again, we're just aspiring on that side, but they wouldn't even go ahead and tell you that. I think that they would be a little bit facetious. We're giving you the point-blank truth of everything else. That's exactly what it's going to take for them to even tie this game, as Cooper said. And again, I won't get a chance to watch Game 4, but I'll be looking forward to your guys' texts, either maybe listening on the roadside, on the Twitter space, or shoot me something on the cell phone. Let me know. Give me some cat emojis as far as some of that stuff. But I want to see something. But again, this storyline, we could talk about it as plain as day from Game 1. It's been the same story all the way across the board.
Yeah, and look, I know we're coming out of a timeout, but we see a shot of Paul Maurice. He's got a notepad in his hand and multiple. Hey, it's our modern world, so I get it. But my point here, the fans are also not really into this thing. They haven't been throughout most of the third period. They're on their phones, a couple of towels waving, but otherwise, not a lot of movement in that crowd.
Barkov, down to 4 minutes now. Florida, again, needs something. How many times can we say that? Verhaeghe, try to center it out. Staal is there. Again, I'll just tell you this. For all the chances, Vegas knows that Florida wants to put this up middle of the slot. Fire it at the net. Make a move. Eichel, Barbashev. Good save by Bobrovsky, and it's behind the net. But you're playing right into Vegas' hands. They're going to continue to trap right in front of Aiden Hill, and the narrative's not going to change. It's just something you got to do. Get some chances. You got some high quality defensemen in Forsling and Montour, and Montour's already scored one. Gudis now tried to locate it. Nick Waugh, as this is knocked away from Forsling. Riley Smith will send this back down the ice, and Gustav's got it now. Forsling with it near the right side dot, trying to work his way to the right side blue line. He'll spin back. Forwards in the midst of a change as this is flipped in for Lindell and Cousins. Third line's out there right now. Again, Paul Maurice just trying to find anything that works. 2:51 left to go in the third as we get a stoppage.
Yeah, John, so let's continue our discussion. All right, how many shifts left for the Panthers at this point now? Paul Maurice, I mean, obviously he's going to be thinking about when does Bobrovsky come out, not if, but when. So those are questions we could try to answer ourselves. We're looking at, depending on stoppages, maybe 3 or so shifts left for Maurice's squad, and Bobrovsky comes out probably when they have possession within the next 15 or 20 seconds or so.
It's got to be. That's the only thing that's in the back of my mind right now. Again, I'm just trying to be as abject as possible on that end, but that's the only thing occupying my mind. I'm feeling the nerves just like everybody at FLA Live Arena, but what else can you feel? I think you said it perfectly when everybody was on their phones on that side. You're just kind of staring into a blank space because that's what Vegas has put you into, a little old Pandora's box. Gain the entry now. This one is a little bit too wide. Ekblad's going to pinch here, and now they're showing one of the Florida Panthers going for the extra attacker here, and now it's going to be 6-on-5. Bobrovsky's vacated the goal crease, and this is sent the other way. Florida picks it up. Bennett, this one gets blocked, and now Ekblad, here comes the bomb, scores! Florida ties it.
Are you kidding me? Unreal play right there. A bouncing puck out in front with the net empty. Ekblad goes up top. The puck is loose in front, and John, does Matthew Tkachuk finish this play for the Panthers? You better believe it. Coming out of nowhere, the Panthers look dead to rights, my friend. 2 minutes and 13 seconds left to go in this game. You better believe it, Keith. Your kid just tied this game for Florida.
Tkachuk right out in front. They had to pull the goalie. Florida had nothing else. A flipping puck at the net. Bennett settles it down, picks it back up. Shot from the high slot off a pass. Tkachuk wide open. And again, they made the defense move. Whitecloud couldn't get there in time. And 19 buries it.
Just a fantastic player. Boy, and Sam Bennett, who has not been as visible in this game, did a great job of bouncing puck out in front. He traps it with a stick blade in the near circle, sends it back behind him to Ekblad. Ekblad goes cross ice. The slap shot's put on Hill, who's toward the left post and bounces off his pad. Tkachuk has position on Whitecloud and finishes, John. Biggest goal of Florida's season. Incredible stuff.
So, Cooper, I know we can't say it now, but there is a pulse. Is that enough to carry Florida to a win, or is Vegas just as dangerous as ever?
Well, if you're telling me that Matthew Tkachuk is all of a sudden woken from his slumber, and look, I'm not saying he was playing poorly in this series, but he was mostly an instigator. He was mostly physical. We can just reference the Jack Eichel hit alone, some of the extracurriculars with Haig that you were referencing, John. If he's all of a sudden going to have his touch around the net, all bets are off, my friend, as Keith Tkachuk finishes his red wine. Take a sip and enjoy it, sir, because your kid seriously could change the outcome not only of the game, John, but potentially the Stanley Cup final. Big drama now.
Forsling in for the traffic as Barkov tried to locate it. and one of the leaping Panthers can't get to it as it's recollected across the red line now. Florida has tied it. This is the best game that they've played. I understand some of the penalties on both sides, and that did bite Florida, but when they needed to score for the first time in this series, they did something, and they outplayed Vegas. They got them to move at a moment, and boy, they're showing the hit that Tkachuk took. And my goodness, you come back out on the ice, you score a large goal, you got a primary assist and a goal in this game. Number 19, he's played a big one when his team needed it. What else is new?
Yeah, nothing else is new. And you know what? I find it really interesting that Tkachuk lays that hit on Eichel. Eichel comes back, plays fantastically the rest of that game a couple nights ago and tonight for Vegas. And then on the other side, Matthew Tkachuk, he takes a big hit from Eichel's teammate, has to leave the game for a while, comes back, gets himself back in the flow, ties this game. And what is Florida like better than overtime? Nothing, John. They love themselves some OT.
Yeah, they're undefeated in overtime right now. They're perfect 6-0, and that may be what it takes. Again, as the feed was kind of skipping a little bit, got me nervous as this is picked up now for Shea Theodore. His outstretched pass. It's stolen. Florida's got it. Pog over to the net. Aiden Hill is down as he got smoked to the crease, fired it at the net. And where's his goal stick? It's out in front of one of the Golden Knights, and this is still not cleared out. Florida with it. Aiden Hill still doesn't have it. And now Vegas will not get this out just for the moment, only into the neutral zone. Here's a race. They're showing Aiden Hill kind of flipping it back there casually. And now Florida. And across the red line, we got about 30 seconds left to go in this third period. And now the crowd is really into this, and so am I. I'm not feeling so downtrodden, but the next Vegas goal could turn it the other way. Here's a rush, and this will have to be recollected now by Forsling as they got this away from Amadio. Vegas. Now for Stephenson. 14 seconds left. He'll work his way through. And a penalty against the Panthers for tripping.
Oh my goodness, John. Are you kidding me? The Achilles heel of the Panthers in this series and tonight more than ever comes back to bite them with seconds to go in regulation. They almost evened the shot total. They have evened the score. But what has Vegas done? When they are given the man advantage, John, they put the puck in the net. Why would we expect any different? Boy, a terrible time to take a penalty, John. I can't believe it. Just 11 seconds left in regulation. It's going to be a man advantage for the Golden Knights.
And Barkov might be the one that is in the box. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you just can't do that. They've already scored 2 times. They're batting about 40% on the power play. And now you got something as Paul Maurice again is livid. But again, that's a clear as plain as day penalty. But you can go right into this OT when you're feeling good. Yeah, you got the Tkachuk goal. We'll talk about that. We might be talking about the next minute and 40 seconds where this game will be over going into the OT.
Wow, John, I may have to throw my 2 cents in here. That is a phantom penalty call, my friend. That is Barkov looking to deflect a puck as Stephenson was trying to break toward the center of the ice. Stephenson catches an edge. He does not. He makes slight contact with.
You might be right. Yeah.
8. And that is an errant tripping call that should not have been called. Barkov's stick blade was in the vicinity, but made no contact. Stephenson goes down on his own right. This is a terrible call, John. This could change the entire outcome of the Stanley Cup final.
Cooper, full marks to you, because now that I got a chance to look at that a few more times, I agree. I think Stephenson, he was cheeky. I mean, you got to do exactly what you got to do here. Now down to 6 seconds. Vegas, power play, and here's a chance here in the center of the net. This one gets blocked. We go to OT, but for how long is the question? Tied at 2.
Wow, major stuff. And it looks like the referees did revise their call. I think Barkov was initially credited with the penalty. And boy, Vegas came up pretty close there at the end. They put one on Bobrovsky. He had to get his paddle down on ice level to turn a shot that was coming along the surface aside. But Forsling gets called for the penalty. He was skating away. His back was to Stephenson. Their skates collided, and that was because Stephenson was cutting right to left toward the center of the ice. It was not Forsling leaving his skate behind to try to impede his opponent. That is a very dubious call, John, and it could have really far-reaching results. This is intriguing stuff and very
Yes, it is. And at least we can say this one thing, Cooper. And again, Dustin, he's joining. I appreciate you listening. He'll be with the Dallas Stars parts of the call on that side. So I know he's very much leaning for the Florida Panthers on that end. But I'm going to go ahead and say this. At least we have the trepidation and intrigue for one game in this series. This feels much more like a playoff game that I am used to watching and enjoying, as we're all going to have a little bit of the sweaty hands here. So let's just talk about it. Florida was pushed up with the very last signs of life here in game 3. They had to pull the net there with Bobrovsky, and Tkachuk comes in as the late arriving. Bennett able to keep it alive after a couple of shot blocks, and it goes right in front of the net where Tkachuk always is. Banged up or not, again, that's what happens to all these players this time of the year. He finishes and gives his team life.
Yeah, and that is, what we use the phrase office a lot, or fill in the blank game office. Gretzky's office, we know Ovechkin's office. When he's on the power play there from the circle where he likes to get the 1T going. Well, Matthew Tkachuk's office is right on the doorstep of the crease. That's where he was. He gets position. His physicality comes into play, keeps his defender on his backside, which gets the stick free, bouncing puck right in front, and when you're of his caliber, which, to be honest, if this series were a little more balanced, we'd still be talking about Matthew Tkachuk as potential Conn Smythe winner.
Right.
Right now, I'd still give it between Marchessault and Hill. But you know what? With Matthew Tkachuk, if his goal and his play as we now head into overtime, if he can change his team's fortunes, he's right back in the conversation, as are the Panthers in this series as a whole.
Yes, they are. And again, a repeat from game 1 as far as the refrain. Right now, you're at the exact number. If Vegas doesn't score on this, they would be the same number they were in game 1, 2 for 7 on the power play. But 7 power play opportunities for the Golden Knights. Again, it's not like the Panthers haven't had chances, but as it stands right now, they would be 0 for 13 in this series through 3 games.
Yeah, and that, listen, that's for the bigger picture. Of course, it's been a part of tonight's story, but that is, let's just jump into the hypothetical. The Panthers find a way here. They get out of this penalty kill. Maybe it's Matthew Tkachuk with his 3rd point of the night. He scores again. They get out of the game with a win. Now it's 2-1 in the series. Well, if you cannot convert at all, literally at all, when you have the power play, you just aren't going to win in a 7-game series, especially when the other team is just under 50% on their power plays. So that's the long-term discussion. Right now, it's Florida being on the flip side when we're talking special teams. Yet again, they're required to kill a penalty. It's in the highest stakes moment of this entire playoff season. The overtime of Game 3 in the Stanley Cup Final. Can they dig down? This is just why we watch. It's can they dig down, get the kill. And again, John, they are digging themselves out of a hole they create for themselves, then to get back to neutral, then to find your momentum, then to convert a goal that gets you the win. Can they do it? That's the question.
And again, for me, I watched a lot of the overtime games in there, covered a lot of the games in between the Stars and Vegas on that end. But this is the first time I get a chance to watch Vegas in the overtime against Florida. I know it's obvious because both the teams in the Stanley Cup Final, but what I mean by that is I still feel like Florida's objective here in their overtime play is still working things in behind the net, trying to get a centering pass out front for Tkachuk and finish it off close. For Vegas, will they go ahead and try to get some shots on from the D side in between McNabb and Whitecloud? Will they work it in between Eichel and Marchessault in front of the net? Will they use Stone to have some good skating displays? Will they use Amadio and Nick Waugh? Vegas looks like the more diverse offensive team to me.
They certainly do. And you know what? That leads me to any number of names. And one in particular that's on my mind, on the tip of my tongue, is Barbashev. I mean, he's been everywhere. We've been talking about him since Game 1. He's been very impactful in many different ways. And he, frankly, John, was very close to putting this game out of reach for the Panthers by getting goal number 3. But he rings it off the crossbar just above Bobrovsky's right shoulder, but after he beat Bob. So that is, I remember that crisp Stephenson cross-ice pass over to Barbashev. I know he's motivated. I know he and Gudis, they have their little showdown going on, but I think Barbershev's going to stay focused. Also, not just because he drew the penalty, but Stephenson has been great tonight.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I will say, now this is easy because he's so skilled. I really like to play Ekblad, so I wouldn't be surprised if Ekblad or Montour, maybe getting his second of the night, finds a miracle for Florida. But at least, John, we are in a situation where you, my friend, have some hope. There's life for you to see a Game 5.
And again, let's get into this and leave your comments on the bottom side of it as well, and I will read those off if I see those. Cooper, it's time. Let's pick some overtime winners for both teams. I'll let you have the floor first.
Okay, I'm going with it because he came close early. I think it may have been in the second period. And I said his name a heck of a lot when I was on the play-by-play side, John. But I'm going to go with, not a number that you would consider all that lucky. Most people wouldn't. But I'm going with lucky number 13 for the Florida Panthers. Sam Reinhart has been relied upon by Paul Maurice. He plays in every situation for Florida. If he has any breath left in his lungs, and I have to check his ice time, which I will do just shortly, but I think that he might convert tonight to get that third goal and win this game 3-2 for the Panthers. If it's going to be the Vegas side, John, I already called it. I hope I'm not stealing it from you. I just like the play of Barbashev so much, I'm going to give it to Barbashev of the Vegas Golden Knights.
I'm going to go ahead and go off the board selection for Florida. I just feel like this is an off the board type of game. It's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I'm going to go with Nick Cousins for the Panthers, but I will go with a more easier name on that side for the Golden Knights. Give me Chandler Stephenson.
Okay, I really like that Vegas Golden Knights call. If Nick Cousins gets the game win, I'm not joking, John. I have your address.
Yeah.
If Nick Cousins scores the game winner, I am sending you a crisp $5 bill, my friend. Literally. That's not even a bet that you requested. If Nick Cousins, of all people on their roster, not that he can't, not that it's, outlandish to think about it, but if somehow Nick Cousins is the hero, I'm sending you $5. That's it.
I appreciate that. I just feel like going way off the board on this one. We've seen the names. We need somebody to step up for Florida. It's too easy for us to take Tkachuk, so that's why we don't always take all the big ones on that side. But I had to go with Stephenson on the Golden Knights because he's been all around it. He's also had a couple of posts, and good on him for drawing a penalty. It wasn't one, but you do what you have to do.
Yep, that's part of the game. And listen, it was close. I don't think it was that close. I certainly don't think it was close enough to get a whistle. But ultimately, he draws the penalty, and we are closing in on our first overtime period of the Stanley Cup final, John. And again, listen, we have to give the credit where it is due. Florida has been, talk about money, talk more than $5, lots more. They have been absolutely money when the overtime has come into play. So I'm fascinated. I know there's lots to continue to talk about. Aiden Hill, again, hasn't been tested all that much in terms of really high danger, legitimate chances. I think technically speaking, we're talking about hockey analytics. I think Matthew Tkachuk's goal will go down as a high danger chance because he's in the slot right outside the crease. But you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about partial breakaways, 2-on-1s, major dangerous situations. Vegas has skated so well in front of them. That's just been the scenario.
That's how it's been all series. So again, through 3 periods now, we're going to OT. We'll see how long it lasts. 2-2 is the scoreline. The shots on goal rate 25-22. Hits are 17-13, and faceoffs are 31-29, all in favor of VGK. The big one that you always throw out there, 31-13 on block shots for Vegas, and for Florida, 22 giveaways to 7. Those are some of your particulars in the game. And before I take a slight break, just to make sure to get everything all squared away, we can just leave you with the reset. Cooper, I know you probably need to do that as well, so I don't want to leave you hanging. I can take the reset and then take like a 30-second break.
Yeah, that sounds great, pal. I'm just going to grab myself a little water to keep the pipes as fresh as possible because we got extra hockey here. So, yeah, I'll step away just for 60 seconds or so and then jump back on.
Okay. So Brandon Montour, he got his 7th from Tkachuk and Staal. That was at 4:08. It was a blister of a slap shot that was a perfect screen. He got top bar and in. And then Mark Stone answered on the power play of the chance from the left out. It was Marchessault and Theodore. at 16:03. Marchessault got the only goal of the second period. Again, his 13th on the power play one more time. Boy, has that been a thing from Eichel and Stone. Marchessault all alone near the left side dot, and Eichel with a perfect pass near the right side of the red line. I mean, that was like a sauce pass from the Red Sea part. 14:59 was the time on the goal in the second period to give Vegas a 2-1 lead. It was all the way up till crunch time, and that's when Matthew Tkachuk seemingly activates his 11th from Carter Verhaeghe's 10th and Aaron Ekblad's 6th off a secondary assist. He got a chance off of Sam Bennett keeping it alive. A shot was blocked there from Verhaeghe and toward the blue line side, and then Tkachuk picks it up right in the middle of the slot, finishes it off at 17:47, and ties the game at 2. Big Bob, he's been excellent in this game. Sergei Bobrovsky stopped 23 out of 25. And Aiden Hill, he's been good, although I do agree with Cooper and everyone else. I don't think he's been relied upon to do too much. But again, Mr. Consistency for Aiden Hill has stopped 20 out of 22. So the other thing that we can mention here on the side of it, again, I'll just throw this on the team stats. 0 for 5 on the power play for the Florida Panthers. 2 for 6 for the Golden Knights. Could very well be 2 for 7. It's going to have to be if this game's going to continue there for Florida. Vegas looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead. If Florida can somehow find a way, they can extend this series. Allow me to at least call a Game 5 on that side. We'll give you the dates in particular on that end. But that's what's in front of them right now.
Yes, you're right, John. And I'm just popping back on to let you know that I am back in business here. We see the Florida Panthers pumping themselves up in the tunnel, just feet away from the ice surface. Vegas doing the same. That's kind of a live look in as the players prepare to come out for the next period. So if you want to step aside just to take a quick breather, John, I can just bam. I'll treat it like a baseball broadcast. I'll just tell some random stories for a minute and a half. And look at that, he's gone. He's gone, boys. He didn't even take the cue. As soon as he heard my voice, he took his break. Well deserved. So listen, I've been the ice time guy all night long. So let's just humor me here. Let's take a quick look. So I do want to, after regulation, perfect time to look at ice time. All right, who's been really putting in work tonight? And look, I keep hitting this button. It's like the Staples button. It's easy for me to go back to it, but Sam Reinhart, of all people for Florida, you would think it would not necessarily be number 13 to red, but just short of 25 minutes of ice time for Sam Reinhart. And again, he's out on 5-on-5. A power play unit on that second squad for the PP for Florida, and then on the PK as well. Matthew Tkachuk, because of the injury he sustained, he still has 16.5 minutes of ice time, but he was not out on the ice for a number of shifts. He really missed the majority of the first period. Coming up in second behind Reinhart in ice time is Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, 21:08. And Ekblad will be on the ice with Staal to start as the defenseman as Florida tries to kill this PP for Vegas. But the leaders on the defensive side for the Panthers are Forsling and Montour, obviously the top guys for the home team at just over 24 minutes apiece. And on the Knights side, again, things a little more balanced here, but Jack Eichel now is just for 20 minutes of ice time. He leads the way for the forwards. Mark Stone, he is just behind Eichel at 19:35. Also worth noting that Stone, who's been such a positive player and made such a positive impact for his team in this series, for whatever it's worth, he's -2 tonight, as is Chandler Stephenson, along with Brett Howden. And as the defenders go, Pietrangelo leads the way, lucky number 7 for Vegas. 22 minutes, 47 seconds of ice time tonight. So that's where the workman stats fall this evening. And, John, continue to take your break if you like, but I'm looking forward to getting this OT started. I know there was a Flo Rida concert. I love this on TNT. We're getting replays of the Flo Rida concert before this one. Very fitting. I mean, well, you're in Florida. Might as well. It's Flo Rida. But somehow, John, when we least expected it, 2-2, the scoreline after Matthew Tkachuk finds a puck on his stick just at the top of the crease. A miracle moment for number 19, and we are just about set to start OT. John, I don't want to steal this from you. If you still have the pipes, do you want to keep it going, or how do you feel?
I'm good to keep it going if you want.
Yeah, keep it rolling, and if we really get deep into this thing, we can. You go to the bullpen. I'll come out and relieve you.
Yeah, if we get to a second or third, you're definitely going to be on deck for that side, my friend.
Fair enough, my friend.
So this is sent back around. Aiden Hill, again, I hope everybody's got their breaks and all that, because the only time we get a stoppage, if this still continues, is about the halftime ice scrapage at the 10-minute mark or thereabouts when we do get a stop. Eichel near the right side. Vegas could finish this off right now. As they said, they got a power play leading into this. If not, they'd be 2 for 7. That's what Florida needs to extend it, and this one goes wide. As Eichel will pick this up off the backhand, and this will be calmly played for Theodore. He'll walk in and shoot. This one gets fired. Eichel doesn't shoot. Set it back up now for Shea in the high slot. Back to Jack. Jack down near the right side dot continues to just calmly weave his way off the backhand. You know you can't dispossess this dude of the puck. He's just excellent. Can't draw too much traffic. Stephenson's chance. This one is blocker to side. Florida off an outstretch. Here's Reinhardt. He's just trying to kill some time shorthanded here, but Florida's got to make sure they don't concede. They can't afford it right now. They could be down 3-0 in the series. Stone off the give and go near the left side dot. Stone lost the puck, but this is kept in now. That could have been dangerous. Jack Eichel still out there. He's in that same spot near the left dot. Here comes the bomb, and this one gets blocked, and the stick is broken right in half for one of the Florida Panthers. That might have been Ekblad as the towels wave. It'll give them just enough time to be able to get it clear, as Aiden Hill will try to pick it up. Carlson's still trying to locate this thing near the right side of the glass as the power play is down to 3 seconds, but again, doesn't make Vegas any less dangerous here. Florida's a perfect 6-0 in this OT. They'd really like to get 7 right now. Vegas is 4-1, so they're no slouch on this end either. Again, it's continuous OT until somebody scores. As the stick is chopped right out of the hand of one of the Golden Knights. I'm surprised that wasn't called. And Racco Gudis off a stretch pass. This will be collected now by Verhaeghe, but it's turned right over. And Vegas able to get this one back down with Lynn Carlson. That's Racco. He'll try again. He gains the entry there, but Verhaeghe got to peel back. And Florida off the delayed offside is Tkachuk will get back and get regulated here. It's Nick Hague. He'll send this back to his defensive partner there alongside Whitecloud. And this will be flipped back down the ice, but it's still live right now and turned over in a really bad spot. But Florida now trying to work in behind the net is Vegas just keeping this contested near the left side red line. A little too casual for the Panthers here. But again, they're going to be trying to go left to right in this overtime. And the home reds with the blue pants, Vegas in the white with the black pants, and the mix of the gold and red striping on the arms and legs. Vegas now will recollect this thing. Here's Jack Eichel. First line's back out there for Bruce Cassidy's squad. Boy, has he been absolutely spectacular. Gets it there from Martinez and shoots it wide. Shea Theodore now trying to hold it. I think this might have bounced up into the netting. We get a stoppage.
Yeah, John, so really the main takeaway so far is, again, time just seems to be flying in this game in general. As it's gone, it seems to go faster and faster each second, that is. But the main takeaway for me so far is a pretty simple one, very straightforward. Florida kills the penalty. So they're at the most danger, obviously, when there's an extra man for the team facing them. But no damage. We're still tied at 2. The game still goes on. We are in overtime. And Vegas, they came close for a couple of moments. Bobrovsky called into action, but good stops by Bob, and now Florida has a chance to try to turn this series on its head.
I can think of some of those game 1s and game 4 in particular in between Tampa and Colorado. There has been some intrigue. Finally got that now. Long shot saved by Bobrovsky. Marchessault shoots it. It's a stoppage with 16:38 in OT.
Yeah, so, and listen, on that power play, Vegas looked good. There were a couple of moments, including the Stone moment. He was in that near circle, looked to corral the puck, and may have had an open lane to get a shot off, but good active sticks by the Panthers. The towels continue to wave here as, we are live with 16:38 to go. Bobrovsky continues to do what he's done all night long, give his team a chance to get back in it. That's what they did. Now they have a chance to win. This is big stuff for number 72.
And uncharacteristically, Chandler Stephenson loses another draw. I can't imagine that's going to happen 2 more times as we get a puck going on a play. Play with a high stick, 16:29 left.
Yeah, John, so you know what? It was a matter of time. It was bound to happen. You know, you've called a few periods of play here in this game, and we had to get some whistles. That's what you've been getting. And when you were on the play-by-play, now we start to get the choppy action. But we'll reset, and the face-off will come up. And, again, Florida, real opportunity. And don't want to probably let this overtime start to stretch out. I think they want to try to finish things here and get it going for Game 4.
So in toward the left side red line, Vegas will win a defensive zone draw. As this is sent back, here's a race for the puck, and Mahura will win the hybrid ice, so Vegas cannot change.
Yeah, more stoppages, John. What else can I say? The whistles keep blowing. But right now, Vegas looking good. They do an excellent job chasing down on that icing right there, just moving their feet. You know, this is really now so even. Obviously, first overtime of the series. I'm just waiting to see it if our predictions come true. That's all in my mind at the moment.
Again, I would be utterly elated if that was a side for Nick Cousins. I just threw that out there. Keegan Kolesar. And behind the net, Bobrovsky makes a good save with the left stick. And a good finish with a hit there for Vegas. They'll keep it in the zone. Working it behind the net now. They're looking dangerous. Near the right side down. Here's a chance that goes wide. And this will be sent back down with a broken stick in Vegas' defensive end. And now they'll start again with Zach Whitecloud as they'll calmly get this the other way. Here's a pass toward the middle of the ice as this is recollected now for Florida. And toward the red line side, it's Bennett. He'll stutter step. Pass right in the middle of the slot. Scores! Florida wins! It's Ben! And we go to Game 5!
John, your wishes
Yes!
are true. Predictions be damned. We don't need them. Sam Bennett, the former Calgary Flame, sets up the game winner. Aiden Hill beaten from way out. John, I couldn't even see who scored the goal because he was mobbed by his teammates immediately. The final in overtime, 3-2 Florida. What an incredible comeback. Vegas had him on the ropes. Florida punched back and knocked him out, courtesy of Verhaeghe.
It's the first time I get a chance to look at it, and thank you for that on the correction for Verhaeghe. Here come the Rats.
Yes, indeed. We thought that the fans would have to keep them in their pockets, John, but no. The ice crew's going to have extra work tonight. The rubber rats litter the ice surface. And boy, just as I said it, we always say, John, what are we speaking into existence? We said Florida needs to get this thing done as quickly as possible. With his 4th career overtime goal, Carter Verhaeghe finishes the night. Florida back in this series. Listen, they have been outplayed, no question. But if you can find a way to win, as they are now 7-0 in the playoffs in overtime, you can find a way. You can find a way to win it all. And that's what Florida has offered themselves an opportunity to do with their victory tonight.
Cooper, I have to say this as plain as day. I understand Verhaeghe taking the heroics, but the first one out there to rush, and I love it. Sergei Bobrovsky. You know you had a lot of commentary going against you. Where's the goaltender that was in between Toronto and Carolina? Well, he showed up in spades tonight. I think he played one of his best games of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, thank you, John, for making that statement. And I love the TNT had the camera on Bob as he celebrated immediately with Staal and Montour, 2 of his most stalwart defenders. Montour as well got the scoring started for Florida tonight. But without Sergei Bobrovsky, we are not even close to this outcome. Not even in the vicinity. What a fantastic hockey game. It looked until Matthew Tkachuk's goal like it was going to be 3-zip Vegas, like it was nothing. John, they were not coasting, but Florida just didn't have the bite. But guess what? Panthers fangs come out tonight. Carter Verhaeghe from Sam Bennett, just about 3.5 minutes into overtime. And again, we talked about those lucky numbers. Lucky 7 pops up yet again. 7 wins, no losses when in extra time. The Panthers love themselves some extra hockey. And John, a Game 5 wish has come true for you.
I know it, and I know you said this, Cooper, and I don't want to keep everybody too much longer because I do have a couple more comments at least. But now you can table some of those, thankfully. But this really does feel like this came out of nowhere, honestly, because you had to pull the goalie or pull Maurice. You get one bounce that you needed. Tkachuk was there, but that was a finish. And at least for Adin Hill, look, he can't stop everything. He's been excellent in this series. Probably one that he wishes that he had back. But you know what? It was a moniker that I was asking for all night. Shoot the puck at the net and test Adin Hill and see what happens when it comes out in the wash. And now we can have a series here because Game 4, again, is Saturday, June 10th. I will not be at that one. If Cooper and Alec communicate or whoever else, if I see you guys on there, if I am driving home and it's still on, I will tune in and listen. Obviously, with the hand controls for me having to drive, I can't provide feedback or I'd probably crash my car. But on that side, at least for Game 5, it'll be Tuesday, June 13th. And if that is indeed when it finishes, who knows? This could give Florida the edge. If they can get to 2-2 and get both of these games at FLA Live Arena, we know that they can do that because they had to do it against the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, you are so right. And thank you, John, for reassuring us that you have priorities. Please do not crash your car, sir. You just got a massive gift from the hockey gods. Do not swipe them, sir. You got a Game 5, buddy. You better be safe driving so you can be on the Game 5 call, which I'm, of course, very much looking forward to. But, we have a lot of hockey to go before that as Game 4 comes up very, very soon. Man, Vegas looks shell-shocked heading back to the room. I won't say they look dejected, but I don't think they or really anyone else who cares about hockey to any degree thought that this was going to be the outcome based on the way these two teams played. But you know what? Florida digs down, uses their star to get some of that magic back, ties the game, kills a penalty to start overtime,
Right.
John, turns around, I think, within 2 shifts, and Sam Bennett holds the puck at the line, finds Carter Verhaeghe, and he goes, you know what? Screw it. I heard John Ott's broadcast. I'm
Yes.
here. Game over.
And it's one of the situations, I'm glad you brought that up too. They haven't been able to kill the penalty for the most part. They did it when they absolutely had to. And that's part when you asked me a couple weeks ago, is part of the cardiac cats from last year still alive? Yes, and I raised you a few chips tonight.
Yeah, no question, sir. Listen, this was a fun one. I'm so glad we were able to do multiple games in a row. And gentlemen, Alec and Sean, major thumbs up to you guys. I know you're big fans. I know you do this yourselves. And so potentially we can be in touch about if we want to be on mic for the game that John can't be there. I mean, John, you're so excellent at this that normally you lead the way. But, of course, we can connect and talk about that. But what a great night of hockey. Game 3 goes to Florida by a final 3-2 in overtime. It's just astounding stuff, right? When you think they're out of it. You said, John, you're waiting for the intrigue. You got it now, buddy.
Man, I can't believe it. I feel like my heart's beating an extra mile a minute, and it's just one game. But we needed to see something. We saw it tonight. You know that Florida was desperate for that. Nobody wants to go down and get swept on that side. In Florida, when they needed to have the answer, we'll see if they can do it again on Game 4. If you guys do the game, I will be listening in on that side as long as I can on that end. And you know what, honestly, I know you guys are all masters of your own domain and can do it. Again, I just take the lead just because sometimes Cooper allows me to do that on that side. I know he's just as good on that, just as long as all of you guys are too. I appreciate it in all honesty. Obviously, Stanley Cup Finals is one of the things I look forward to covering. I'm glad, honestly, Cooper, that man, it's a full calendar year now for us. We started at the beginning of the year, and let's get some intrigue and finish this off right.
Yeah, John, I'm obviously saying this with a smile. I am joking, but I just want to clarify. We don't let you take the lead, John, because listen, you're fine. You're fine on that. But you know what? We let you take the lead because the Panthers score when you're doing play-by-play. So that's why, my friend, we let you take the lead. When I'm on there, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. And so I had to kick my ass off of there and jump back on the microphone, and we're all glad you did.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it, Cooper. As always, man, big handshake. I know we're living far away and all that, but it's simple, and we will catch up a game, and I will catch up with you boys on Tuesday. Have a good call Saturday. If you don't hear from me, I will shoot you some texts. Good luck, everybody. Let's try to get this to 2-2, shall we?
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone, and most of all to you, John. And yeah, we will be in touch, no doubt. Have a great time at the wedding. Be a cliche, John. Keep an eye on the score while you're at the wedding, and another eye on your family, and have yourself a safe drive, and then we'll get right back to it.
Sounds good. See you, everybody.
And they've been coming through for them continuously in this playoff. Listen, it wasn't a console, like you said, but Florida has so much grit and so much heart. They battled. I really believe that they cut down on the senseless penalties. We got a great series here. This is going to go a long way. And they were like 1 minute away from being down 3-0. They clean up a little bit, get their specialty teams better. This is going to be a long series.
I think it goes back to Bob's bounce back. And you were talking about between periods, Hank, as far as him getting his feet set. It really didn't feel like he could get that done in the first 2 games. Of course, credit the traffic that Vegas was creating and all those.
Well, guys, at least for those that are still listening along, again, I appreciate it. Kelly, thank you. Again, Adrian's on that side. I apologize. I can't show for the TV side for YouTube because that'll get taken away. This does guarantee that I will be back for Game 5. If the series does end, Cooper Hopkins will be with me on that side. I just have to attend my fiance's sister's wedding on Saturday, so I cannot cover Game 4 at all, but I will be here for Game 5. That's what I'm most excited about. We'd love to see this go 7 because we love doing these games with all of you guys. Thank you, and we will talk then. Again, Kelly, I appreciate it. We will see you soon.
As far as his team's concerned now, what a story.